Chapter 11:26. There is a place to train and improve, it is very special, maybe you guys can. But now is not the time. The leader was a girl in white with a silver grimoire in her hand. She seemed to have something else to say. Alright then, I believe that we will meet the requirements one day. It is not too late to talk about it then. Yu Yang smiled. He already knew that it would not be so easy to pass the final test. If the test was so simple, then there would have been talented warriors who met the requirements and achieved their goals in the past thousands of years. Moreover, from another perspective, the more difficult the test was, the harder it was to pass it. The rewards after achieving it would definitely be the best. For Yu Yang, the fact that the three oracles could stay and wait for the time to come meant that he had already succeeded half the time. Compared to Ji Wuri and the rest who traded with the evil deities for results, Yu Yang and Mingzhu Prince were undoubtedly making great strides on the right path. They were only left with the final test, the revival of the evil deities. Mingzhu Prince knew that they would not say it now, but he was not satisfied. He could not help but ask, "Can you give us a hint, even if it is just a sentence, is it about the Earth Valley and the Heaven Valley?" The leader of the three girls in white smiled but did not say anything. She only stroked the grimoire in her hand. The one with the heroic spirit wanted to say something but stopped. On the other hand, the cute, round-faced girl saw Yu Yang pretending to be pitiful and cooperating with Mingzhu Prince's inquiry. She could not bear to comfort him and said, "Actually, this place is not a secret that cannot be told. We will tell you guys sooner or later. It is just that now is not the right time. If we tell you guys, it might affect your mood and state." Yu Yang and Mingzhu Prince looked at each other and nodded in unison. They thanked the cute, round-faced girl together. She did not say it clearly, but Yu Yang and Mingzhu Prince had already guessed a little. Previously, they said that no one could stop the return of the evil deities, and they would leave on their own. At that time, Yu Yang suspected that if the human valley, which was sealed by only one evil deities, couldn't be defended and would fall, then how could the countless evil deities sealed in the Earth Valley and Heaven Valley be spared? If they couldn't survive in the Earth Valley and the Heaven Valley, where would they go? Where was the safest place to be? In addition, Yu Yang was suspicious of secret places like Human Valley's tower beyond tower, Earth Valley's mountain beyond mountain, and Heaven Valley's sky beyond heaven. It wasn't that these places didn't exist, but after the battle at Tower Beyond Tower, it confirmed Yu Yang's conjecture. After discussing with Princess Sisai and the Sky Law Empress in the Grimoire world, Yu Yang came up with a conclusion based on everyone's thoughts. He then came out to share this bold conjecture with Mingzhu Prince, which was, the current Human Valley's ancient pavilion was actually Tower Beyond Tower, and the Tower Beyond Tower, that fought with the evil deities was actually the original Human Valley's ancient pavilion. The two had actually swapped places for some unknown reason. The evil deity's soul had been separated from his body and sealed in Tower Beyond Tower. It was actually the original ancient pavilion. Maybe it was because the ancient rankers wanted to separate the evil deity's soul from his body, so they swapped the space between the ancient pavilion and Tower Beyond Tower. This was one of the reasons why after entering Tower Beyond Tower, people would find that it was exactly the same as the ancient pavilion, and it was especially huge, 10 times bigger than the ancient pavilion outside. Another reason was that Yu Yang had taken out God stones from the 4 peaks of the ancient pavilion and entered the ancient sealed space to search for ancient relics. These God stones, which were said to be an endless source of energy, didn't exist. After sealing the evil deities, in order to leave the ancient relics to restrain the evil deities, the ancient rankers purposely created the teleportation door and God stones to provide energy in the 4 peaks. Yu Yang, who had the Heaven Eye's divine vision, had already found out before he even got the God stones, that the 4 peaks didn't need the teleportation door at all. Moreover, even if there was a teleportation door, there was no need for God stones to provide energy to operate. Everything was just a disguise. It was a test for the wise, a trial for the later generations. Only the smartest and most elite students could find the ancient relic. As for ordinary people, they would never be able to see through the mysteries of heaven, and would not even have the chance to participate in the trial to find the ancient relics. Tower beyond tower was the real ancient pavilion. Yu Yang felt that there was another reason that could support this, and that was divine power. During the battle with the evil deities, the terrifying divine power that the evil deities displayed was unparalleled. Even when he was still in a weakened state, he only used 1% of his divine power to beat Yu Yang. Yu Yang could be said to have unleashed his little universe and turned into a super-Earth, but in the end, he couldn't completely withstand it and was almost killed by the evil deities with a single finger. On the contrary, when Shifeng fought with Qinch and Wanmo, he faced Qinch, who had 100,000th of the power of the evil deities, and Wanmo, who had 1,000th of the power of the evil deities. Although the fight seemed to have taken a lot of effort, in fact, Yu Yang felt that the battle was much easier than he had imagined. If it was the battle with the evil deities in Tower Beyond Tower, 1,000th of the divine power would definitely make him suffer. Why was the difference between the two so great? The reason was that the ancient pavilion was the real Tower Beyond Tower. It was completely created by the gods for the elite trial, so its rule prohibition was stronger. Therefore, when Qinch and Wanmo fought with Yu Yang at Shifeng, their evil deity's power was suppressed by the rule prohibition and weakened a lot. Otherwise, the power that could be exerted would definitely be more than that. If Qinch and Wanmo fought with Yu Yang in another place, even if they were anywhere in the Valley of Men, even if they were destined to fail, and they wouldn't have lost so badly. If the divine power that the evil deities traded had no effect, would the evil deities, who had fought with Yu Yang before, still take it out knowing that it was useless? It must have wanted to restrict Yu Yang. Unfortunately, the evil deities didn't expect that Qinch and Wanmo would fight with Yu Yang at Shifeng. In the end, not only did they waste some of their divine power, but they also let Yu Yang beat the fallen flowers badly. Most importantly, Yu Yang had gained insight into part of the secret of the evil deity's power. He was no longer as confused as before. Because of the exchange of the ancient pavilion and Tower Beyond Tower, and because of the attitude of the three girls in white, as well as the small amount of information that Yu Yang had collected from Queen Vivian Li and the reasoning of Princess Sisai, Yu Yang made a very bold guess. If it didn't matter if the Valley of Men fell, or if it didn't matter if the Valley of Earth and Valley of Heaven fell, then they must be fake. Otherwise, the ancient gods wouldn't have created a trial ground that their descendants would never have any hope of achieving. The real Valley of Men, Valley of Earth and Valley of Heaven were most likely in the hands of the three girls in white. Only after being personally selected by them. Only the best candidates were qualified to enter. It was impossible for the ancient gods to hand over the trials of ascension to godhood to ambitious juniors or evil gods. It was impossible for them to be controlled by tyrannical forces, and it was even more impossible for them to lead juniors with real hope down the wrong path. Therefore, the key to everything was these three young ladies in white. They represented the will of the ancient gods to some extent. At the very least, they were the qualified successors chosen by the ancient gods to challenge the true owner of the divine grimoire. If the current Valley of Men was fake, then the Valley of Earth and Valley of Heaven that needed to be cleared were also fake. Then where was the real one? You're so scary when you smile. Please don't have any ideas on me, I won't say anything now. The cute, round-faced girl was a little afraid to look at Yu Yang in the eye, because the guy from another world who was ridiculously handsome when he smiled was going to use her as the breakthrough point. The round-faced girl was the softest, and she had the most favorable impression of Yu Yang, so she was the one who was most likely to reveal the secret. Alright, don't be like a big bad wolf that saw a little lamb. Quickly wipe off the saliva on the corner of your mouth. Mingzhu Prince couldn't stand it anymore. It was fine if you used some beauty to get information, but don't tell me you want to force yourself on me. Do I look like such a lustful person? Yu Yang almost fainted. Mingzhu Prince, which side are you on? Why did you change your side at the last minute? You don't look like it, but you are. Mingzhu Prince felt that it was right to be on guard. What if this brat used his official position for his own personal gain? All right, you win. Yu Yang squatted down gloomily and drew circles. He didn't want to quarrel with Mingzhu Prince. Mingzhu Prince was like a proud peacock, raising his head high. It was rare to win against him. If he didn't show off, when would he be able to? The white-clothed girl holding the silver grimoire sat quietly in the temporary tent built by Yu Yang. She was able to keep her composure. No matter what happened to Yu Yang and Mingzhu Prince, she didn't care at all. The tall white-clothed girl with a heroic aura looked at Yu Yang and Mingzhu Prince a few times, then walked into the tent to rest. Only the cute, round-faced girl tilted her head, as if she really liked seeing Yu Yang's defeated look. She wanted to secretly laugh, but was trying her best to hold it in. At night, Yu Yang lit a bonfire. He also caught some fish and prawns from the sea and made a sumptuous grilled fish dinner. The three white-clothed girls weren't very interested in the food, but drank some of the fairy spring water that Yu Yang brought from Tong Tian Tower. On the surface, Mingzhu Prince criticized Yu Yang's cooking, but he was actually very satisfied with the food. He was beaming with joy. Suddenly, he excitedly asked about Yu Yang's matters in Heaven Realm. Of course, he wanted to ask about Tong Tian Tower the most, but it was a pity that Yu Yang only talked about it, unless it was a topic that he couldn't avoid. Tong Tian Tower, it's said that there's a godly tomb there, a real godly tomb. The cute, round-faced girl really knew a lot. There's also the godly grimoire. The heroic white-clothed girl drank a mouthful of fairy spring water and joined the conversation. You've seen the godly grimoire before? Yu Yang's eyes lit up as he asked. The godly grimoire is in the hearts of those who can see it. Those who are fated can obtain it, and those who are not fated can't even see its existence. The white-clothed girl holding the silver grimoire smiled gently, as if she was asking Yu Yang silently, "Do you think you are a fated person, or a fated person?" Her words also contained another meaning. The godly grimoire wasn't something that could be obtained just because one wanted to. No matter how much effort one put in, no matter how much price one paid, some people would never be able to obtain it, because the godly grimoire chose its own master. The godly grimoire would choose its own master. It was definitely not something that could be forcefully taken away by external forces, no matter how much power one had. It was impossible. Actually, Yu Yang hadn't thought about this problem before. The guy from another world still had a divine grimoire that he didn't know whether it was a godly grimoire or not, but he never had the chance to use it. Regarding the godly grimoire, he didn't want others to obtain it, but not himself. Of course, if the godly grimoire chose him, then Yu Yang wouldn't be polite. Yu Yang didn't want to discuss this topic too much, because he was worried that he might accidentally spill the beans about the divine grimoire that he couldn't summon, especially in front of Mingzhu Prince and the three white-clothed girls. If he was distracted and accidentally said it, he would be done for. Thus, Yu Yang changed the topic to the heaven, earth and human valleys. If the training in the human valley is to transform into a human, then surpass oneself and become a god, then what is the training in the Earth Valley and Heaven Valley? This question was asked unintentionally, and wasn't meant to probe. It was a completely natural reaction. He wanted to bring it out to discuss. After saying this, even Yu Yang himself felt that it was too abrupt, and hurriedly wanted to change the topic. Unexpectedly, the white-clothed girl holding the silver grimoire, the leader of the three god envoys, changed her usual attitude and answered directly. Actually, it's okay to tell you. The true meaning of the Earth Valley training is destruction, while the Heaven Valley training is creation. Yu Yang and Mingzhu Prince were stunned. They looked at each other, and were so shocked that they couldn't speak. Why did she say the truth? And the most puzzling thing was, forget about the creation of the Heaven Valley, the true meaning of the Earth Valley training was destruction. Did they hear wrongly? Destruction was also a type of training. Chapter 11:27. When Yu Yang and Mingzhu Prince recovered from the shock, the three girls in white had already returned to their tents to rest. Although he knew the true meaning of Human Valley, Earth Valley and Heaven Valley, Yu Yang's heart was filled with even more confusion. Was it really that difficult to obtain a godly grimoire? To ascend from a human to a god, one had to pass through thousands of checkpoints and trials, and put in endless sweat and effort. These were all normal. But why was it that the Human Valley, Earth Valley, and Heaven Valley trials in the trial grounds were so much more difficult than one could imagine? The true meaning of the Human Valley was to transcend oneself and ascend to the godly level. It was already difficult enough, and there were even more unbelievable levels of destruction and creation after that. The trial ground was only meant to nurture a few godly-level warriors, not to nurture a creator. Was there a need to make it so difficult? Could it be that the contractor of the godly grimoire had to be a creator? Moreover, the Heaven Valley with the true meaning of creation was only the 9th level, and it was not the final test. He really did not know how Her Majesty Queen Vivian Li, who had rushed all the way to the 9th level, passed these tests. My mind is a little confused, and I need to take a rest. Let's go back and think about it. We will exchange what we have obtained tomorrow morning. Good night. Mingzhu Prince was not confused about Human Valley's transformation into a human, transcendence, and becoming a god, but he could not understand the destruction of Earth Valley and creation of Heaven Valley. Yu Yang wanted to say that he could just leave it to him, but he knew that Mingzhu Prince would have to pass this test sooner or later, so he could only nod and agree. On the second day, without waiting for Yu Yang to speak, Mingzhu Prince suddenly smiled. I have thought it through. After passing Human Valley, I will go back. Being able to transcend the human body and become a god is my biggest goal. As for the Earth Valley and Heaven Valley, I will not think about it for the time being. I know that I should not bite off more than I can chew, and I still have self-awareness. Sorry, I thought I could accompany you to the end, but now maybe this is fate. Fate has chosen us, and only the best one can go to the end. Mingzhu Prince looked at Yu Yang as though he was saying, You are the lucky one, I can't compare to you. Yu Yang sweated profusely. It's too early to say that. I might be eliminated in the next round. Seeing him like this, Mingzhu Prince could not help but laugh. Patting him on the shoulder, he jokingly scolded, If you really get eliminated, I won't recognize you as a friend anymore. Besides, even if you get the Divine Grimoire, I won't be jealous of you. What are you so nervous about? It's not that easy to obtain the Divine Grimoire. Yu Yang didn't want to think too far into the future. He changed the topic and asked, Are we really going to leave after clearing Human Valley? It has been decided. Mingzhu Prince nodded. What's next? What do you plan to do? Yu Yang was unwilling to give up. To do something that I wanted to do before but didn't have time to do. Mingzhu Prince said vaguely. Then, what is it that you wanted to do but didn't have time to do? Oh right, what is the secret that you wanted to tell me? You are going to leave soon, tell me now. Yu Yang looked at Mingzhu Prince hopefully. Before I leave, I will consider whether to tell you or not. This depends on your performance. Mingzhu Prince smiled and shook his head, rejecting Yu Yang's request. Bastard, don't force me to use force. Yu Yang's patience was not very good. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Mingzhu Prince stared at Yu Yang fearlessly. The two of them approached each other like fighting cocks, almost touching each other's nose and smelling each other's breath. A strange atmosphere quietly formed. Just when Yu Yang decided to teach this fellow a lesson and prepared to nibble on Mingzhu Prince's face, the tent suddenly opened. A cute round face popped out and looked at them curiously. Yu Yang and Mingzhu Prince hurriedly jumped back 3 meters. The guy from another world laughed. The weather today is not bad. There are no clouds in the sky is clear, It's a good day to recite poems. Mingzhu Prince sweated profusely. Big brother, can you look at the sky before you lie? The sky was filled with dark clouds, as if it was the end of the world. How could there be no clouds in the clear sky? Maybe it was a good day to recite poems, but it was not a good day to recite poems. There was no choice, he couldn't cooperate with this kind of guy who had a jumpy mind. He turned his back and pretended not to know this guy. He didn't want to embarrass himself. The cute round face also looked at the sky in confusion, unable to react for a while. In the end, he gave up and waved at Yu Yang and Mingzhu Prince. The storm is coming, do you want to come in and take shelter from the rain? Yu Yang moved in front of the round face and smiled mischievously. I'm very dangerous, aren't you afraid to invite me in to take shelter from the rain? All right, I'm kind enough to let you take shelter from the rain, but you're still acting like a big bad wolf. Do you feel uncomfortable if you don't do bad things for a day? Mingzhu Prince beat the guy from another world to the ground and dragged him in. His violence made the round face sweat profusely. If I had the power of a god, facing this storm, all I need to do is say stop and everything will be calm. That would be great. Yu Yang fantasized. Don't dream. Mingzhu Prince felt that daydreaming was a specialty of this guy. Actually, you can do it. The leader of the three girls in white, who was holding the silver grimoire, suddenly opened her mouth and said with a smile, if you can do it, then you will have truly passed the Human Valley trial. If you can't do it, even if you successfully pass the trial and leave the Human Valley, you will just be a warrior who has failed in challenging himself on the surface. What? Yu Yang was just talking nonsense. He didn't expect her to reply like that. The Human Valley has unlimited restrictions, no inherent skill, no domain of power, no support. How can you calm down the storm? Mingzhu Prince also felt that it was impossible. Actually, the reason why the Human Valley has such restrictions is to limit the trial takers to the greatest extent, to let the strong trial taker become a person of the lowest level, in the weakest and most powerless environment. How can they surpass themselves? If this thought is not sublimated and transcended, then the trial taker will forever be a human and not a god. The heroic girl in white explained. Even if the thought is sublimated, there is no divine power to stop the storm. Mingzhu Prince still felt that it was hard to imagine. That's because you are still a human now. If you surpass human and ascend to God, then no matter how strict the laws are, they will not be able to restrict you. All the power in the Human Valley will instead follow you, and be yours to use. The gentle and quiet girl in white said something that caused Mingzhu Prince and Yu Yang's mind to tremble. Yu Yang was stunned. He seemed to have understood something. He was about to switch to a state of enlightenment. Suddenly, he saw Mingzhu Prince's body tremble. He was swaying, as though he could collapse at any moment. He quickly suppressed the surging thoughts in his mind, rushed over and supported Mingzhu Prince. The moment his hand touched Mingzhu Prince's body, there was suddenly a kind of power, from Mingzhu Prince's body, burst forth. Everything in the world, including the howling storm outside, came to a halt in an instant. Boundless energy formed an invisible shock wave that frantically spread out. Everywhere it passed, it carried with it an unknown will power. Even the restrictive power in the Human Valley. It was also shattered. In the countless space fragments that looked like broken lenses, Yu Yang's hand was violently rebounded by the unknown power. His entire body was thrown hundreds of meters away. The three girls in white seemed to be prepared. A layer of holy light shield rose on the surface of their bodies. They were completely unaffected by the vibrations of the space. Calm as ever. Mingzhu Prince's body, countless soft white lights flowed out like moonlight. It was as though some kind of seal formed by a secret technique had been removed. Ting! Countless white lights spiraled and gathered above Mingzhu Prince's head, forming a huge pillar of light, shooting up to the heavens. And at the same time, the grimoire that Mingzhu Prince could not show in the Human Valley also automatically floated out. It was actually an extremely rare grimoire. Countless sealing strengths exploded the moment the Holy Scripture appeared. Even young Master Ming Zhu's body exploded into millions of motes of light. These motes of light gathered together like fish, forming a mass of light that was as soft as a bright moon. Within the light there seemed to be a woman. She looked like a fairy under the moon, her golden hair like a waterfall, her eyebrows like the moon, and her long eyelashes intertwined. She seemed to be in a deep sleep, not knowing that the world was changing. When she slowly opened her starry eyes that were as bright as the stars, Yu Yang, who was dumbstruck, felt as if a window had opened in his heart. It was just that his body was completely restricted by the supreme power that was naturally emitted by the other party. He was unable to move, let alone open his mouth to shout. Under the cover of the unique secret seal and the wondrous domain, there was actually such an unparalleled beauty. The beauty with sharp ears and bare feet, covered in holy light, seemed to want to reach out and hug Yu Yang. But her uncontrollable supreme power would only push Yu Yang further away. Moreover, the power of the laws in Human Valley started to bite back. Although it would not harm her, it would definitely throw her out of the seal, because she was no longer within the laws of Human Valley, and was no longer suitable to stay in such a place. When the beauty finally reacted, she used almost all of her willpower that she could control at the moment. A bright moon rose up. Within the territory, the magical moonlight combined with the supreme power of the seal completely stopped the space fragments that were constantly regenerating after they were broken. In that second, she leapt towards Yu Yang, her beautiful face filled with anxiety. She did not have the time to hug Yu Yang tightly, nor did she have the time to press her cherry lips on Yu Yang's lips. The stagnated space started moving again under the powerful laws of Human Valley. Actually, I am. The beauty did not have the time to say her secret, she had already been thrown out of Human Valley by the power of the seal. The shattered space instantly mended back to normal. Yu Yang, who was standing still, finally recovered his movement. He stretched out his hand, with his palm, gently caught a teardrop left behind by the beauty before she left. In the teardrop that was still warm, there was a faint trace of willpower. That was the last message its owner left for Yu Yang. I am not barbaric, I hit you and scolded you, because I was afraid that you would easily forget me. Chapter 11:28. Why? Yu Yang couldn't suppress his anger and shouted at the girl in white who was holding the silver grimoire. Why is it like this? Give me an explanation. Her strength was originally close to the god realm, but she had not fully recovered from her previous injuries. At the same time, she lacked an epiphany. Now that she has both, of course she will automatically ascend to the god realm and leave the Human Valley. The girl in white who was the leader explained indifferently, in the past year, she has gained a lot from her training in the Human Valley. Actually, after the battle with the evil deities, she might have an epiphany and leave the Human Valley. It's just that she was reluctant to leave, so she persisted and continued to stay with you. However, you should also know that there is a limit to the self-seal. It can't be maintained forever, and for her, forcibly suppressing it is a very undesirable thing to do. It's not beneficial to her cultivation. Now that she is following the epiphany, ascending to the god realm and leaving the Human Valley, isn't that a good thing? At least give us some time to buffer, we are not mentally prepared at all. Yu Yang felt that he still had a lot of things that he hadn't said to her yet. He could only watch helplessly as she left, unable to do anything. He felt very uncomfortable. Actually, the one I want to enlighten is not her, but you. The girl in white who was the leader suddenly smiled. Her sealing ability is very strong, but she can't hold it for a few days. Her divine power is not something she can control now. Whether we appear or not, she might suddenly lose control, break through the self-seal and leave the Human Valley. The heroic girl in white felt that Yu Yang should not complain about this. After hearing what she said, Yu Yang also felt that young Master Ming Zhu had treated him especially well these few days. She was different from her usual self, and her behavior last night was even more abnormal. It seemed like she had already known that the seal would be hard to control. Ascending to the God realm is a good thing, you should be happy for her. The cute little round face comforted Yu Yang. Abandoning Human Valley, where would she go? Yu Yang asked. Returning to her grimoire world, before her godhead is completely formed, she still needs a long period of time to familiarize herself with and strengthen her power in this aspect. It doesn't mean that you'll become a god just because you've advanced to the godly realm. There are still many things that need to be formed in between, such as divine body, divine sense, godhead, and so on. There's also divine sense, divine power, divine skills, and so on. Lastly, it's to form an independent godly realm in the grimoire world. As for completely transforming into a deity, she'll be able to show off her power and go wherever she wants. She'll be able to travel thousands of miles with a single thought, and there'll be no more restrictions in the various worlds. The white-robed girl in the lead described to Yu Yang in a gentle voice. Just tell me how much longer before I can see her. Yu Yang wanted to know the answer to this question the most. Some people need a few thousand years to truly master it, some only need a few hundred years, and some others only need a few decades to master it. The heroic white-robed girl explained. At least a few decades. Yu Yang was completely speechless. Thinking about it, Queen Vivian Li had spent a lot of time to transform the black hole space into the world of ice and snow. Although it was a little difficult to transform the black hole space, the world of ice and snow could not be formed easily. From this, it would be difficult to see little Moonlight, who was disguised as Mingzhu Prince, in a short period of time. It was not easy for him to see her again, but who knew that after teasing her for a few days, the ancient code would ruthlessly separate them. It was really maddening. The most frustrating thing was that she had returned to the grimoire world and not to the heaven realm. It was impossible to send her another love letter. Yu Yang was depressed for a long time, but he did not give up and asked, "If I want to see her, is there no other way?" The cute little round face nodded, giving him a trace of hope. However, her next sentence made Yu Yang speechless again. This was because the little round face laughed and said, "As long as you advance to the God realm, after you have mastered it, you can use your divine sense to connect with her divine sense and receive her guidance. Then you can enter the God realm in her grimoire." These words almost made Yu Yang fall to the ground. Good heavens, how could it be easy to advance to the God realm? He had not even taken a single step yet. Yu Yang had no choice but to ask, "Then how can I advance to the God realm as soon as possible?" The white-robed girl who was the leader smiled. "I don't know about others, but you are an exception. Maybe you can try a special kind of trial. Do you see this silver grimoire in my hands? It's a small world with endless nothingness and endless reality. If you think it's fake, then everything in it is an illusion. If you think it's real, then everything in it is the truth." Yu Yang had long suspected that the silver grimoire in this girl's hands was actually the real entrance to the heaven, earth, and human valleys. Now that he heard it, he was even more certain. He wanted to enter the trial, but Yu Yang was not a reckless person. Naturally, he would ask more about the situation inside the silver grimoire. Otherwise, what if he was cheated? Among the three white-clothed girls, the cute round-faced one would definitely not cheat him, and the heroic one might not either. However, the one in the lead, who had a gentle smile on her face, would definitely cheat him to death without paying for it. He had no choice but to ask clearly. Yu Yang thought repeatedly and asked cautiously, "I have experienced the door of life and death. It is a test of the reality within the illusion and the reality within the illusion. Can you tell me what are the differences between them? Or, what are the conditions to enter the silver grimoire's endless world? After entering, what conditions do you have to fulfill in order to return? After entering, if you do not succeed, you will never be able to return. The leader's words made Yu Yang break out in cold sweat. Damn it, so ruthless. The Silver Grimoire's endless world has no concept of time and space. You can live inside for 10,000 years, but not even a second has passed outside. If you spend 1,000,000 years inside and 10,000,000 years to achieve your goal, then when you return, the time is the same as when you entered. The heroic white-robed girl explained. As long as you succeed, you can come out. It's very simple. This was what the cute little round face said. Then how do I count as succeeding? Yu Yang really wanted to ridicule her. Easy for you to say. Surpass yourself and comprehend the true meaning of destruction and creation. The leader slowly stated the conditions to pass the trial. Isn't this the condition to pass the 3 valleys of heaven, earth and man? Yu Yang was speechless. As expected, the 3 valleys of heaven, earth and man were in the hands of these 3 white-robed girls. All the warriors in the world were fools, fighting here and there in this damned fake human valley, thinking that they had succeeded. In fact, they were all fools scheming against fools. They had not even touched the edge of the 3 valleys of heaven, earth and man. No wonder no one had been able to obtain the divine grimoire for thousands of years. If these 3 girls did not take out the silver grimoire and let people enter to pass the trial, then they could forget about obtaining the divine grimoire in this lifetime. Even those so-called evil deities had been tricked by these 3 girls. Originally, he thought that he was very impressive in the 3 valleys of heaven, earth and man. Who would have thought that it was all fake? The real 3 valleys of heaven, earth and man were all in the hands of others. Yu Yang really wanted to give himself a tight slap. Let's see if he still dared to look down on these 3 girls. He didn't dare to say whether he could enter the trial or not, but it was necessary to ask for the reason. Cough cough, I really want to know, why are you only telling me? The heroic girl in white gave him a supercilious look. We're inviting people who have the potential to succeed, okay? It's not just you. 15 years ago, the one who had a close relationship with you had already walked ahead of you. She had also successfully passed the trial, but she did not proceed to the 10th stage before leaving. Maybe she, who had the divine grimoire, wanted to leave the opportunity for you. The cute little round face nodded in agreement. It must be like that. Yu Yang's jaw dropped to the ground. Had the divine grimoire? This was the first time he had heard of someone having the divine grimoire. He really couldn't believe that the person who had the divine grimoire was actually Fourth Sister's older sister, his own mother in name. Did Queen Vivian Li and Prison Emperor Zhang Feng pass the trial? Yu Yang suppressed his shock and asked again. The Conquest Queen had already passed, but Zhang Feng did not challenge her. He hoped to enter the trial after the Heaven Valley trial, but in the Earth Valley trial, he resisted the true meaning of destruction and withdrew from the trial. He originally said that he would come back to challenge, but he never returned. The heroic-looking white-robed girl seemed to have a better impression of him. He died, so of course he never returned. Yu Yang didn't dare to imagine how terrifying the endless world, which even the prison emperor did not dare to challenge, would be. Thinking about it, Her Majesty Queen Vivian Li was really awesome. She could even pass the endless world, such a terrifying place. No wonder she wouldn't tell him no matter what, she actually had such a secret. Yu Yang paused for a while, hoping to make a comparison between Queen Vivian Li and my mother, who passed the trial faster? The cute little round face held her chin and thought for a long time. She frowned a little confusedly. The Conquest Queen has been around for too long, I've almost forgotten, but it should be more than 3,000 years. Although she had a hard time in the endless world, her overall speed is still considered fast. Yu Yang asked closely, "What about my mother?" The cute little round face extended 3 slender fingers with certainty. 300 years? Yu Yang asked tentatively. Stupid. The heroic-looking girl snorted coldly. That's 3 years? It can't be so fast. Yu Yang cried out in shock. It's 3 days. She is the fastest person to pass the trial in history. With her great wisdom, nothing in the world can stump her. Actually, she could have left in 3 hours, but in order to pay her respects to the seniors who spent 3 days to create the endless world, she stayed for 3 days. The girl in white who was the leader answered in one go. Yu Yang was so scared that he fell to the ground, cold sweat all over his body. This is too awesome, this mother is simply invincible. Queen Vivian Li still needed 3,000 years to pass the trial, but she could do it in 3 days. She was even paying her respects to the seniors. What kind of wisdom was this? Yu Yang felt dizzy for a long time. In the end, he felt that it would be too embarrassing if he got the slowest record. He wouldn't be worthy to be the son of the most awesome mother, so he asked another question, "What's the slowest record?" The heroic-looking girl in white answered with dissatisfaction, "It's an idiot called Mystic Dragon. He spent 1,000,000 years. My sister and I wanted to throw him out of the endless world many times, but my sister was soft-hearted and insisted on giving him a chance. An idiot called Mystic Dragon?" Yu Yang couldn't help but burst out laughing. This fellow also had this day. The next time he saw him, he would see where he would hide his face. Now that he was done for, Yu Yang felt that no matter how idiotic he was, it was impossible for him to train in the endless world for 1,000,000 years. What kind of freaking record was this? Could practically kill all living beings in the world. If only Mystic Dragon was by his side to ask him about the feeling of being locked in the endless world for 1,000,000 years. No wonder Mystic Dragon was so calm when he came out after being sealed by the Supreme Dragon God for 100,000 years. It turned out that he was already used to it. Yu Yang couldn't stop laughing. In the end, he waved his hand at the 3 girls in white. "I will go in, but let me think about it and make some preparations. Oh right, if I break the fastest record, is there any reward?" "It's impossible for you to break the fastest record." The heroic-looking girl in white looked down on him. Yu Yang felt that this girl was looking down on him too much. She didn't have to be so absolute with her words, right? "It's indeed impossible to surpass your mother's record, but I feel that you have the root of wisdom. Maybe it won't take a long time, definitely not 1,000,000 years. I believe in you." The cute, round-faced girl comforted Yu Yang with kind words. Yu Yang was speechless. Could it be that his intelligence was on the same level as Mystic Dragon? Chapter 11:29. Returning to the Grimoire World. Hearing Yu Yang talk about entering the Silver Grimoire's Little World trial, Yu, who always supported her brother 100%, firmly opposed it. On the other hand, Princess Sisai, who often disagreed with Yu Yang, was the first to express her support. As for the Impatiens and the others, their silence was golden. Of course, other than these 3 factions, there were also muddle-headed factions like Inan and Yu Bing. They didn't know whether to support or oppose it. They blinked their big eyes and waited for everyone's opinion. They were prepared to follow the crowd without any opinions, but no one said anything, making them very anxious. Whether to support or oppose it, everyone had to say something. All of them were silent. What was going on? The identities of the 3 god envoys are unknown. Moreover, entering the little world trial in their hands, what if an accident happens? Moreover, transcending oneself is already difficult enough. You still have to comprehend destruction and creation. If it really takes a long time, how will you endure it alone? I don't want your mind to be affected because of this trial. You are not a person who can endure loneliness. If you stay in there alone for 1,000,000 years, you will go crazy. I can't watch you become like that. Also, even if you comprehend it thoroughly, you can't immediately advance to the God realm. At that time, you will be like Mingyu Guang and leave the human valley to condense Godhead and reconstruct your divine body. Who knows how long it will take you to come back? Little San, we have been waiting for you here every day because we know you will definitely come back. Have you thought about our feelings now that you have to go through such a risky trial? Why not do it step by step? We don't need to reach the sky in one step, we just need to improve together. It's best if we unite and advance hand in hand. You don't need to bear everything alone. We also don't want to see you so tired. Yu Yu's attitude was very firm. She didn't want Yu Yang to enter the little world trial. That makes sense. You should think for us. The sickly beauty, who was as gentle as water, also tried to persuade him. I also don't think it's necessary to take such a risk now. Princess Fallen Flowers expressed her support. Inan and Yu Bing looked at Princess Sisai's little face. If Princess Sisai didn't say anything, they would support Sister Rain. After all, what Yu Yu said was right. Everyone was reluctant to part with him. If he really was trapped for 10,000 years, it would be too painful. Human Valley had not collapsed yet, so there was still enough time. There was no need to act immediately. Now was not the final moment before the evil deities attacked. There was no need to enter that terrifying little endless world. Once he entered that place, no one would be able to help him. That was the last thing anyone wanted to see. Seeing that things weren't looking good, Yu Yang hurriedly expressed that his understanding of the problem wasn't deep enough. He would go and discuss with Little One Li, Duo, and the others first. Everyone would continue to discuss. Whether it would work or not, everyone would have the final say. His attitude was very democratic. The more she saw him like this, everyone's heart ached even more. They clearly wanted to help him, but why did it seem like they were obstructing him? Princess Sisai suddenly stood up and bowed to Yu Yu. Then, she looked at everyone with her starry eyes. Actually, I feel the same as everyone else. From the bottom of my heart, I don't want him to go through the trial alone. I don't want him to carry the entire burden on his shoulders. What I feel the most is that when someone needs to stand up and help him, I don't have enough ability to stand up and take charge. Now that the evil deities are attacking, the only one who can help him is Wu Xia. Unfortunately, she's still in a deep sleep, so there's no definite news. As everyone listened attentively, Princess Sisai raised her little fist and said in a serious tone, "Because of that, at this time, we have to think of a way to do something for him. Even if it's just a little, it's still better than doing nothing. This isn't just a trial for him in Human Valley, it's also our trial." Southern Demon King seemed to have understood something and asked, "Qianqian, do you have any good ideas?" Princess Sisai shook her head. "Nope." Just as everyone was feeling disappointed, she added, "But I have the dumbest idea." This time, before she could say the answer, Impatience had already reacted. She laughed out loud. "The Gate of Life and Death. We'll use the Gate of Life and Death to simulate the endless world of the small world. Coincidentally, this kid has the creation domain. If he can surpass the Gate of Life and Death, he might be able to understand the true meaning of destruction and creation. If he can understand the true meaning of destruction and creation, then everything will be simple. I'm not good at creation. I think I'll be in charge of understanding the destruction aspect." Princess Sisai looked at Yu Yu. It was obvious that she wanted to hand over the understanding of creation to her and Sickly Beauty. "We'll be in charge of understanding the creation aspect." Princess Fallen Flowers immediately assigned Anan, who had super strong mental strength and creativity, over. Of course, there was also Yu Bing, who absorbed limitless life energy from the ancient forest rune. This little girl was not good at creating people or objects, but if it was plants, then she was a super genius in this area. Destruction, creation, aren't those the same thing? Southern Demon King felt that this was her strong point. She gracefully played the Jade Pipa. "I agree." Impatience, the Sky Law Empress, of course felt the same way. For the two of them, destruction was sometimes equal to creation, and creation was sometimes equal to destruction. For example, Southern Demon King, the Dragon Princess, once she created beautiful music, it might mean the destruction of her enemies. It might also mean the destruction of certain lives, so she had no choice but to create beautiful sounds of nature. Needless to say, the Sky Law Empress, both creation and destruction were in her hands. Although she usually used more destructive power, which made people fear her, there was no doubt that she had the same powerful creativity. Xia Yi, Lu Yi and the others were a little embarrassed. They wanted to help out a little, but they were afraid that they were not capable enough, which would make the Sky Law Empress look down on them. Hai Yingwu, Aquamarine, Emerald Lord by Lu and Raging Flame Leader had the same thought. As for Bao Sky Disaster and the other little girls, who knew that they could not help and were afraid of causing trouble for everyone, they were pretending to be obedient and sat properly, like obedient primary school students who were focused on class. "What are you guys still doing here? Come and help!" Princess Sisai shouted loudly. "But we don't know anything." Bao felt that if she ate buns, she could help eliminate 2 of them. "You guys don't have to do anything, just stand here and be in charge of the eternal part." Princess Sisai personally arranged tasks for them. "I don't understand." Bao shook her head like a rattledrum. "You don't have to understand, you idiot. You're still 100 years too early to understand." Princess Sisai rewarded her with a spicy chestnut. Bao who was hit, covered her head pitifully, her big eyes filled with tears. She wanted to act pitiful to gain the sympathy of others, but at this critical moment, no one had time to care about her, and this cute crying expression was wasted. "What's wrong with Bao? Don't cry, don't cry." Yu Yang, who had just gone to discuss with little one Li, Red, Man, Duo, Jiang Ying and the Yao Yu sisters, had returned. He caressed Bao little head, giving her a chance to complain. "It hurts." Bao acted coquettishly in front of Yu Yang, but when Princess Sisai returned, she immediately jumped up and stood straight. She had always been fearless, not afraid of Yu Yang or the impatiens. She was afraid of 2 people. One was Fourth Mother, and the other was Princess Sisai. Fourth Mother's motherly smile could soften her mischievous self, but Princess Sisai couldn't. Yanji glared at her. Bao dared to be mischievous in front of her? Unless she didn't want her skin anymore. Not to mention her, even Sky Disaster, the Destruction King who gave all the demonic palace headaches, had to take a detour when he saw Princess Sisai. Especially when Princess Sisai was in a bad mood, it was guaranteed that all the girls in the grimoire world would be more obedient than the other. Princess Sisai suggested a way to help Yu Yang. "We are thinking if we should try using the Gate of Life and Death. When we are really confident, we will go. What do you think?" She did not have absolute confidence that it would succeed. After all, the one who had the creation domain was Yu Yang, not her. Although everyone here had already surpassed the Gate of Life and Death. But surpassing and going a step further in the Gate of Life and Death, comprehending a higher level of destruction and creation, these were not the same level of difficulty. Just like how they were trained in the Gate of Life and Death, Yu Yang was also trained in the Gate of Life and Death. Their achievements and benefits were completely different. Yu Yang nodded and agreed. "I discussed this with little one Li and the others just now. In order to help me, Jiang Ying and Duo specially returned and gave up their original training." Jiang Ying smiled slightly and waved her hand lightly to indicate to Yu Yang that it was all right. Duo nodded towards Princess Sisai. Her whole body emitted a wave of fragrance and petals filled the sky, creating a beautiful world of petals. Duo comforted. "Your Highness, because of my selfishness, I have made all of you worried. Actually, Jiang Ying, little one Li and I have already advanced in our training. We were just afraid that it would affect your mood, so we did not say it directly." Little one Li did not say anything and only hugged Yu Yang's arm tightly, just like in the past. Jiang Ying waved her hand again. "Even though I have advanced, I am still far away from it. I cannot compare to Xiao Wenli and Duo. Duo has already advanced to the godly realm and I cannot compare to her." Duo has already advanced to the godly realm? Princess Sisai was flabbergasted. If little Wunli had not suppressed her cultivation and insisted on staying by Master's side, she would have reached the godly realm faster than me. Actually, reaching the godly realm is not fun at all. Instead, condensing the godhead takes a long time and there is no way to leave the grimoire world. It is really boring. Duo was quite modest. However, the impatiens who had just rushed over after hearing the news were speechless. When did you advance to the godly realm? Yu Yang, this muddle-headed master, also did not know. When I was fighting against the Sun King, I was almost about to break through. Afterwards, I took advantage of Master's advancement and broke through. Actually, I did not want to advance to the godly realm so early. If I did that, my training would be slow. It would be better to be like little Wunli and not break through. I would continue to train step by step, enrich myself, accumulate experience, and grow further in the future. Duo smiled sweetly at Yu Yang. Don't worry, let this little thorny flower lend you a hand. Thinking back, it was you who personally nurtured me, turning me from the world's weakest thorny flower to the flower goddess, the leader of all flowers in this world. As the owner of this little thorny flower, you have never received my support, right? She waved her hand lightly and the entire grimoire world immediately turned into a sea of flowers. Creation. This was creation. With a single thought, thousands of flowers bloomed and all living things grew. As for Duo, she slowly retracted her hand. The blooming flowers all emitted a fragrance, and then withered, bearing fresh fruits. Could this be destruction? However, this destruction seemed to represent new life. The flowers had withered, but the fruits of life had already formed. Could it be that it was really like what the impatiens and the Southern Demon King had said, that destruction and creation were actually the same? The impatiens and the Southern Demon King looked at each other. They had not comprehended it deeply, they were just talking about it. How could they be like Duo, who waved her hand and made hundreds of flowers bloom, then waved her hand to wither all living things, forming a field of fruits? Was this the power of a god? It was too powerful. Duo seemed to have seen through everyone's doubts. She smiled and shook her head, indicating for Yu Yang or Princess Sisai to cooperate with her. When Yu Yang randomly released a mechanical doll, she lightly tapped it, turning the metal mechanical doll into countless petals. The petals withered in the wind, turning the ground red. Finally, a mechanical doll drilled out from the soil. On the surface, it looked exactly the same as the mechanical doll that Yu Yang had created. Even its internal structure was exactly the same. However, everyone could see that this was no longer the mechanical doll that Yu Yang had created. This was because it no longer had the willpower that Yu Yang had created. Its owner belonged to Duo, who was born from a single thought. Duo signaled for Princess Sisai to attack her with her sword. Princess Sisai unsheathed her godly sword and slashed out a terrifying sword aura that could destroy heaven and earth. Duo clenched her small hand lightly, and the sword aura that filled the sky instantly disappeared, turning into a rain of petals that fell from the sky. Amidst the rain of petals, the mechanical doll leapt out. Under Duo's jade finger, it turned into a rainbow-like sword aura and counterattacked Princess Sisai. The power of this counterattack was equivalent to the full power of Princess Sisai's previous attack, in addition to Duo's guidance. If Princess Sisai had not blocked it with her sword in time, she might have been injured by this sword aura. Princess Sisai was sent flying 100 meters. When everyone saw this scene, all of them turned pale with fright. Could it be that this was the true power of a god? If this was really the case, then wouldn't a god-level warrior be invincible in the world, unrivaled by anyone? After mastering the power of destruction and creation, it is only the beginning of the Divine Supreme, but the real power is the transcendence of human valley. Only the most powerful warriors have the most powerful will. That kind of will can be called eternal, can be called the sovereign will. Under the sovereign will, Nothing can be destroyed or created. Everything is eternal. In that eternity, the sovereign will that controls the power of eternity and controls everything is the strongest. I can now control your sword aura and your various fighting methods, but there are also things that I can't control, such as Master's sword aura, Master's wheel of destruction and wheel of eternity, Master's creation domain, various runic powers, etc. If the opponent was the Princess Palace Lord, then I wouldn't be able to control your 6 records' inherent skill and holy domain. I wouldn't be able to change the connection between your grimoire and your guardian beast. I wouldn't be able to change your willpower after passing the door of life and death. Perhaps I can confuse your eyes for a short time, but that is not eternal. If we want to be stronger than others, divine power alone is far from enough. We need to condense our unique divine spark and condense our true, eternal, unshakable, and unmovable sovereign will. Most importantly, we need to understand what the Holy Sovereign is. That is the first type of true eternity. Above that, there may be a higher, stronger, and more eternal existence. This has to be found and understood by everyone. Everyone's talent and effort determine everyone's achievements and future. For an existence like Master, I don't wish for him to ascend to the godly state immediately. On the contrary, he needs to enrich himself and sharpen his foundations. A small hill piled up by sand can be called a mountain, a small hill piled up by stones can also be called a mountain, and an unparalleled absolute peak that pierces the heavens can also be called a mountain. If I make a move, the protagonist will not have any chance to sharpen himself and can pass the stage with peace of mind. But I can't do this, this is destroying his growth. Now, what I can do is to give you an enlightenment that I have comprehended. I hope it will be useful to you, Master, and also to everyone. Duo clasped her hands together. The entire grimoire world was once again filled with a rain of flowers. Every petal of the flower contained supreme intelligence and wisdom. When it lightly touched a person's body, it seemed to quietly reveal some kind of secret, making people feel as if they were comprehending it but not comprehending it. It was an incomparably wonderful feeling. Yu Yang took a deep breath. His guardian beast was so powerful, there was no reason for him, the Master, to be useless. It must be possible. If Duo, Jiang Ying and Little One Li could do it, of course he could, and he must do better, because he was the one and only guy from another world, with the guidance of the heavenly sword goddess and the protection of the Phoenix sisters. In the midst of this explosive realization, Yu Yang let out a loud roar. His whole soul instantly sublimated, expanding and stretching infinitely. The endless world seemed to be panoramic in his eyes. Destruction, creation, and self-transcendence flashed in front of his eyes. Countless fragments of his soul exploded in his mind, and millions of resonating factors flickered. Yu Yang felt dazzled. It was not that he could not comprehend it, on the contrary, there were too many of them, and it was difficult to make a single choice. Boom! He felt as if he had fallen into an endless world of soul, immersed. Chapter 1130. 3 days later. Yu Yang stayed in the grimoire world for 3 days before returning to the Emerald Island in the Human Valley world. On the surface, he didn't look any different. It was as if Duo's enlightenment had never caused him to indulge in thinking. However, the strange thing was that the 3 white-clothed girls sitting quietly in the tent immediately stood up in surprise when they saw Yu Yang. It was as if the people of the Celestial Empire had discovered the South China tiger on the street. After looking at him for a long time, the white-clothed girl who was the leader finally opened her mouth and said, "It has only been 3 days since we last met, but you look completely different." "What's different?" Yu Yang asked with a smile. "You definitely won't stay in the little world for 1,000,000 years now, I bet." Regarding Yu Yang's change, the cute little round face seemed to be the happiest. "There's a big change, but the endless world's trial is completely different. The heroic girl in white nodded in affirmation and gave Yu Yang a piece of advice. While I still have confidence, let's try it now. Yu Yang felt that if he had the slightest hesitation, he might give up on trying. The little world in the silver grimoire, the endless world. It would definitely be more difficult than the gate of life and death. If he couldn't understand it, he would be trapped in there for 1,000,000 years like the demon dragon. Although he had little one Li and the others to accompany him forever, sometimes he would miss Princess Sisai and the others so much that he couldn't control himself. When Shui Wuxiao was by his side, he didn't feel lovesick, but since she fell asleep, he really wished for her to return to his side as soon as possible. Entering the endless world. It was equivalent to completely separating from everyone, completely alone on the road. If he stayed in there for a month, he might not be able to bear it. If he stayed for a few months or a year, Yu Yang couldn't imagine what would happen to him. If he was really unlucky and was trapped in there for 100 years, 1,000 years, he didn't need to be trapped for 1,000,000 years like the demon dragon. Even if he was trapped for 100 years, Yu Yang estimated that he would go crazy from loneliness. He didn't worry about his own comprehension, nor did he worry about the test. He only worried about time. He was afraid that he would be trapped in the endless world for too long. His mind was out of control. No matter how long they stayed in the endless world, it was only a second outside. Under normal circumstances, Princess Sisai and the others would not feel that time was long. However, even if that was the case, Yu Yang was still worried that their souls would resonate with each other, which would cause him endless heartache. Are you sure you want to enter the trial? The white-clothed girl holding the silver grimoire asked solemnly. Yes. Yu Yang nodded heavily. I wish you good luck. The heroic girl in white nodded, wishing him a speedy return. You must succeed. She raised her fist and cheered for Yu Yang. She was the closest and kindest person to Yu Yang. When the silver grimoire was opened, countless rays of light filled the air. In the instant that they were teleported in, Yu Yang flashed a bright smile towards the cute little round face, which could be considered as a response to her encouragement. In the previous second, the cute little round face's pure smile entered his eyes. In the next second, it turned into an extremely ugly human face. It was a person that Yu Yang had never thought he would see again. This person was the first person he killed in White Stone City, Rock. This person was so weak that he was only a level 2, brave man. Any random innate rancor could crush him like an ant. Now, he was glaring fiercely at Yu Yang. His huge palms grabbed Yu Yang's collar and laughed crazily. Brat, you also have such a day. Yu Yang was dumbfounded. Didn't you die, you idiot? Rock nodded and confirmed. That's right, I died and became your thorny flower's food. In the end, I became a pitiful flower fertilizer. With regards to this answer, Yu Yang expressed his confusion. Since you, this idiot, have become flower fertilizer, why are you still talking to me? Look at your ferocious expression, you seem to want to hit me? Bang! Before Yu Yang could finish his words, Crag's heavy fist had already landed on his face, ruthlessly smacking him. Fresh blood splattered. Nodding. The blood splattered on the ground, forming a ghastly flower of blood. Yu Yang realized that his body was extremely weak now. Such a casual punch actually made him vomit blood? Rock used an arrogant attitude and an incomparably arrogant voice as he directly roared in Yu Yang's ear. Brat, this is another world. It is no longer the Tong Tian Tower where you can show off your abilities, do you understand? In this world, you are just a mortal, not even worth a fart. If I like, I can tear you into 18 pieces at any time and put them together into 36 different positions. I can let you die as beautifully as you want. His voice was like a clap of thunder, causing Yu Yang's eardrums to ring. Following that, another eerie voice sounded out, Wait, don't be in a hurry to kill him. Let me play with him. He actually dared to send a prostitute and poisoned wine to plot against me. In the end, he even made me die unjustly. If I don't take revenge for this, I am not Tai Kwang. The second person who was killed by Yu Yang and turned into flower fertilizer appeared. It was the level 3 hero, Tai Kwang. Originally, if he and Rock, who were as weak as ants, wanted to touch Yu Yang, they probably wouldn't be able to hurt him even if they fought him for 1,000,000 years. However, it was completely different now. Tai Kwang leaped and spun in midair, his shoe fiercely kicking Yu Yang's neck. Yu Yang felt as if his neck was about to break. He felt a bone-piercing pain as blood spurted out from his throat uncontrollably. Tai Kwang and Rock picked up Yu Yang, who was lying on the ground. It was a good beating him up. While laughing crazily, he shouted that he would take revenge for being turned into flower fertilizer by Yu Yang in the past. When they found a rope from somewhere and were about to hang Yu Yang alive, Yu Yang suddenly opened his mouth and suggested, "Using a rope to hang me is too uncreative. You guys should prepare some tools. An axe, 2 saws and a set of chef's knives." What? Rock and Tai Kwang were stunned when they heard this. "Don't you guys think that hanging me alive is too easy on me? You guys should first skin me, then chop me into 4 big pieces. Boil my bones into soup, fry my fat in oil, cut my lean meat into diced meat, mix it with flour and make it into biscuits. Eat them into your stomach, and when you're full, you can pull them out to feed the fish. Finally, you can catch the fish and use a rope to hang it alive. That would be a lot more satisfying," Yu Yang suggested sincerely. "Why do you want to hang the fish?" Rock asked, a little confused. "If you don't want to hang the fish, you can also press the fish into the water and drown it alive." Yu Yang felt that drowning was also a good idea. Fish? Drown? Tai Kwang was suddenly dumbfounded, as if he couldn't understand this suggestion. He stood there blankly. He and Rock exploded with a bang, turning into millions of space fragments and dissipating in front of Yu Yang. Yu Yang crawled up from the ground and touched the blood stains on his face. He muttered to himself, "It's even more realistic than the door of life and death." A hand stretched out from behind him. It passed him a handkerchief. When Yu Yang thanked it and used the handkerchief to wipe the blood stains on his face, the owner of the hand slowly appeared behind Yu Yang. It was Yu Yang's first formidable opponent, the Marquis of Zijin. He still looked arrogant, still looking down on the world, as if he had never been defeated by Yu Yang before, as if he had never been surpassed by Yu Yang before. Instead, it was as if he was completely suppressed by Yu Yang for the first time. He looked down at Yu Yang condescendingly. "I already knew that fools like Rock and Tai Kwang wouldn't be able to disturb your mind. However, you still lack confidence in yourself. Otherwise, you wouldn't be injured and bleeding. Here, if there's a sliver of weakness in your heart, it will be magnified 1,000,000 times. Moreover, here, you're the weakest mortal. You don't have any abilities and can't do anything. You can only die because of the weakness in your heart. Do you see your blood? That's where your weakness lies. Everything you see is real, including your injuries. In this boundless world, there's nothing that's fake. So, are you ready to die?" Yu Yang carefully folded the blood-stained handkerchief. If not for the fact that he had never collected handkerchiefs as a hobby before, he would have really thought that he was a pervert with a fetish. After the Marquis of Zijin finished speaking, Yu Yang muttered to himself for a while. Suddenly, he smiled. "I'm a human, of course I have weaknesses in my heart. If I were a god, would I still need to come to this damned place to train? There's nothing to be afraid of if there's a weakness in my heart. The reason why I came here and met Rock and Tai Kwang was because I had memories of the first time I killed someone and the first time I plotted to harm someone. At that time, I was a mortal who couldn't control his fate. In order to survive, I used my limited abilities and conditions to kill my enemies, then stepped on their corpses to improve. I killed my enemies, but I also had a basic moral bottom line. I felt that killing people was wrong, but I had no choice. At that time, if I didn't work hard to become stronger, I wouldn't be able to have everything in the future. I wouldn't be able to have my future happiness. So, in the end, I thought it through. Humans must move forward, and they must also look forward. No matter what I did before was right or wrong, I don't have to remember it all the time. Even if I made a mistake, I don't have to regret it. I just have to work hard to do better in the future. As long as I don't make the same mistake a second time, that would be the greatest improvement and success. What you've said might be some of the realizations you've had in your life. They might be very valuable things. The Marquis of Zhejian looked up to the sky and laughed loudly. However, those are useless. They can't help you. Here, you can't do anything. You can only die miserably because of the weakness in your heart. Don't be in a hurry to deny it. As long as Rock, Tai Kwang and I appear, it proves that there's still a weakness in your heart. No matter how small it is, you can't deceive the ancient code. I've never thought of denying it. Yu Yang took out his very neatly folded handkerchief, shook his head and smiled. I just don't care. What? The Marquis of Zhejian was stunned. Humans are humans because they definitely have weaknesses. Their hearts will definitely have weaknesses. What does it matter? I don't care if I have weaknesses, and I don't care if my heart has weaknesses. Humans are not perfect. What does it matter if I have some small problems? Yu Yang shrugged his shoulders, indicating that he could completely accept himself like this. He passed the folded blood-stained handkerchief back to the Marquis of Zhejian, who had raised his hand to kill him. The Marquis of Zhejian raised his hand again and again, wanting to smash Yu Yang's head. In the end, he let go of his hand and took the blood-stained handkerchief. He sighed and said, "The endless world is real, but I'm an illusion. An illusion like me can't use the weakness in your heart to take revenge. I used to think that at this moment, I'm real and that I can do anything, including fulfilling my wish when I was alive and killing you, my opponent. Unfortunately, I was wrong. An illusion is an illusion. When you don't admit it, I've never been resurrected. Oh my God, have I never existed before?" The Marquis of Zhejian looked at his hands. His hands and the handkerchief that he was holding had turned into light smoke, drifting and disappearing within the void. You existed before. At least in the weakness in my heart, you've been resurrected and existed before. Maybe one day this weakness in my heart will disappear, but after all, you have existed before. There's no doubt about this. The expression on Yu Yang's face was as if he was bidding farewell to an old friend that he had not seen for a long time. I can't tell if it's real or an illusion, but to be able to exist like this, even if it's just an image of your heart's weakness, I'm already satisfied. My life isn't completely meaningless. At least I've existed as a memory of an enemy's growth, as a support. Thinking about my life, although I can't achieve anything myself, I can still help others. My life has not been in vain. Ha 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 ha. Amidst Yu Shuhuai's laughter, the Marquis of Zhejian's entire body turned into smoke and disappeared without a trace, as if he had never appeared before. Moreover, Yu Yang also felt as if he had just entered and had never seen Rock, Tai Kwang and the Marquis of Zhejian before. He touched his face. There was no blood at all. It turned out that the corner of his mouth that was swollen by Rock had never been deformed, nor had it ever bled. Everything seemed real. Everything seemed like an illusion. Yu Yang raised his head and saw a cute little girl in front of him. She was standing on a swaying chair, reaching out her chopsticks to pick up the smoked fish on the table. With one hand on the table and the other in front of her, her little butt was raised and her waist bent as she reached out. Her little hand clumsily grabbed the chopsticks, trying to pick up the biggest smoked fish. Yu Yang remembered that she had successfully picked up the smoked fish. However, Fourth Mother had hit her lightly and lectured her to sit properly and not be disrespectful. Instead, she had been so scared that she fell down. It was also from that day onwards, from the day he threw himself at her and hugged her, this little girl had truly become an indispensable part of his life. She had become his precious darling. There was no Fourth Mother here, and it was also not the house in White Stone City that year. The moment the little girl picked up the smoked fish from the plate, the boundless world had turned into an unfathomable abyss. Yu Yang saw the little girl showing him a proud smile just like she did in the past, but before she could stabilize herself, she had already fallen head first into the abyss. This time, he did not have the time to leap over like he did in the past and grab her little brain but to protect her before she fell and got hurt. What should he do? With his mortal body and weak body, should he just watch as the little girl fell into the abyss? Was he really going to helplessly let this scene become reality? Or should he rush over and fall into the endless abyss together with her? Shuang-er, don't be afraid, I'm here. Yu Yang did not rush out like he did in the past. Instead, he slowly closed his eyes and stretched out his hands. Chapter 1131. The Endless World. The small world inside the silver grimoire was not only a test of self-transcendence, but also destruction and creation. Although the people who entered the trial knew this, it did not mean that they could comprehend it immediately. Otherwise, there would not have been a tragedy like the demon dragon, who was trapped for 1,000,000 years. Even though Yu Yang had unparalleled talent, if not for Duo's guidance and everyone's help, he would not have been able to react immediately when Shuang-er was in danger. Just as he closed his eyes and stretched his hands out to his side, under his feet, countless water vapor condensed into ice, forming a long ice bridge that extended to both sides of the abyss. And under Yu Yang's feet, there was a small and exquisite seed that sprouted, grew, and spread into a vine. It extended endlessly into the abyss. On one side, the tough vines were calling out green branches, and flowers were growing everywhere, blooming all over the valley. On the other side, the vines were chasing after the little girl, Shuang-er, who was screaming as she fell down. Naturally, the vines transformed into a beautiful swing of flowers, gently supporting Shuang-er's little butt. It floated away softly, dispelling the falling force that could shatter bones and shatter a body. It floated back again at the limit. This beautiful swing of fresh flowers carried a gentle fragrance, sending Shuang-er, who was screaming happily after a pleasant surprise, back into Yu Yang's arms unscathed. The little girl hugged Yu Yang's neck and called him intimately, "Brother Xiao-san, I still want to sit on the swing. I flew so high just now, I still want to sit on it." Only then did Yu Yang open his eyes. He tightly hugged this mischievous little girl who always made people worry. He dotingly hugged her and kissed her little forehead. "Where's Mommy?" "Mommy is behind." Shuang-er's little hand pointed behind her. Yu Yang did not need to look back. The scenery behind the ice bridge had changed greatly. It had already turned into a winding road up the mountain. It had been a long time since he had last seen the Yu clan castle in the middle of the misty mountain. 2 meters behind Yu Yang, there was a shabby horse carriage. There was no horse on the carriage, and there was a rope tied to the handle of the carriage. The curtains of the carriage separated the two, forming a shadow. That's right. Yu Yang turned around to look, and his lips trembled slightly. He would never forget this scene. Back then, he had also pulled forth Mother home just like this. Rumble. The moment Yu Yang turned around, a huge metal ball rolled down the winding mountain path. The huge round iron ball was enough to flatten anything that stood in its way. Compared to it, the carriage that was about to be crushed into pieces was insignificant. Right now, should he put down Shuang-er in his arms and go and save Fourth Mother, who always encouraged him and gave him a smile, or should he rush forward and use his weak chest to block the terrifying death for them? Yu Yang had no choice but to carry the little girl with one hand and slowly move forward with the other. Countless ice walls. It stood tall with a loud rumble. The iron ball smashed into the ice wall, shattering it and sending debris flying everywhere. The ice walls could not stop the giant iron ball's advance, but under Yu Yang's intentional guidance, the iron ball's trajectory was ingeniously changed. The giant iron ball crashed down with a loud rumble, brushing past the edge of the carriage by a hair's breadth. Seeing that the shabby horse carriage was safe and sound, the little girl who had been scared out of her wits immediately cried out in joy. She clapped her hands and jumped up and down in Yu Yang's arms, cheering and jumping non-stop. Without waiting for Yu Yang to heave a sigh of relief, a slope appeared in front of the rolling iron ball. The huge momentum caused the iron ball to rush up the slope. It was like a roller coaster. When it reached its limit, it quickly fell down and rolled back. Moreover, the iron ball's entire body burst into flames, burning the ground until it made a sizzling sound. Everywhere it passed, it left a trail of fire. The rocks and sand were all burnt red. "Damn you!" Yu Yang could not help but curse. He carried the little girl with one hand and pulled the rope with the other, pulling the carriage with all his might, just like how he pulled forth Mother up the Yu clan castle in the past. Yu Yang ran crazily, pulling the shabby horse carriage as he climbed upwards. The back of the carriage followed closely behind the blazing hot iron ball. Just as the carriage reached a safe place, and the iron ball had no more strength to chase, the blazing iron ball suddenly grew sharp spikes. It was firmly nailed halfway up the slope. Yu Yang did not have the time to be surprised. He suddenly realized that the rope pulling the carriage had snapped. The carriage, which had just escaped from danger, paused for a moment and lost its pulling force. It slowly slid backwards and continued to accelerate. In the end, it became faster and faster, directly rushing towards the red-hot iron ball that was covered with iron thorns. As long as it rushed forward, no one in the carriage would be able to escape. In the midst of despair, Yu Yang once again closed his eyes. With one hand holding shuang air, he stretched out his other hand. But this time, he was not creating, but destroying. The carriage fiercely crashed into the blazing iron ball, smashing it into pieces. However, at that moment, all the flames and all the fragments were completely annihilated. The energy was turned into weak petals. The huge momentum disappeared without a trace, as if countless life channels had been drained. The woman in white, who had been sitting quietly in the carriage, slowly landed on the ground under the support of the spiritual petals. She even had the leisure time to adjust the posture of her feet before stepping on the ground again. She was steady and did not suffer any injuries at all. She smiled gently at Yu Yang, who was carrying shuang air. "I know, there is no test in this world that can baffle you." She reached out to take the little girl, who was still unwilling to return to her arms, and nodded lightly at Yu Yang. "You know, we have always been waiting for you. So, don't worry about being lonely, we are always here." Yu Yang did not dare to open his mouth to speak. He was afraid that if he opened his mouth, he would not be able to hide his feelings from the depths of his heart. Even in front of her, he was not willing to reveal too much of his inner feelings. Carrying the little girl, she slowly walked away. She did not say anything more. However, her previous words and attitude had always expressed her support. She would be at home, always waiting for him to return. She would never let him travel alone, and would never let him become a pitiful wanderer without a home to return to. No matter when, she was always this gentle. No matter when, she would always give him the greatest support. "Big brother Xiao San, you have to work hard." But the naughty little girl, lying upside down on her mother's shoulder, waved to her big brother. Yu Yang discovered that his eyes were covered with a hazy mist. This was not cowardice. It was a kind of longing for a wanderer who had left home for a long time. Although he had not truly returned home, but to be able to see them here, the ones he had missed for a long time, was also the best repayment. Yu Yang slowly closed his eyes, deeply exhaling. Next, no matter what kind of test, he would not hesitate, nor would he retreat. Because he had the greatest, the best support. However, even if he was mentally prepared for the worst, when he opened his eyes and saw the scene in front of him, he still could not help but be stunned. This was a special place. In this place, there was a test that Yu Yang had the least confidence to pass in his life. If it was not for the clean girl who usually read quietly, but when she fought, her left hand was lightning, and her right hand was ice, Yu Yang did not think that he would be able to pass this place, because this was the place that no one had ever successfully passed. The 12 zodiac temples, the Virgo temple. It was even more difficult than the gate of life and death. More difficult than any other challenge. The Virgo temple tested the weakness of a person's heart. No one had ever been able to overcome their own heart's weakness alone. Even the strongest person could not do it. The reason why Yu Yang succeeded that day was because he had 3 companions. There was the mysterious Shui Wuxia, who refused to reveal her identity, Inan, who had excellent mental strength, and the most courageous and determined sister, Yu Bing. With the help of the 3 of them, Yu Yang defeated his own heart's demon in the Virgo temple, conquered his own weakness, and passed the test in an unprecedented manner. But now, the guy from another world discovered that he had returned to the Virgo temple. There was an illusory voice beside his ear. It was as if the wind was whispering carelessly, but it was also like a lover's gentle whisper beside his ear. Stupid guy, do you really think that you have passed the Virgo temple? In fact, everything that you have experienced before was just an illusion, including the battle in the heaven realm, the test of the door of life and death, and the trial of the land of trials. Are all these fake? Yu Yang asked with a smile. Do you think that it is real? The illusory voice mocked him mercilessly. Who do you think you are? That the best things in the world will be given to you? That all the good things in the world will fall on your head? That is the reward for my hard work, isn't it? Yu Yang shrugged his shoulders. Living in an illusion, you would rather continue to indulge in it than to wake up, is that right? The emotionless voice asked. You can say that life is an illusion, but it is also real. It depends on how a person views it. If someone thinks that his life is real, then it is naturally real. If he thinks that it is fake and pursues the truth, then it must be fake. There is no absolute truth in the world. Truth is built on fake, and fake also contains truth. For example, a man may look like a man, but he is a strange body composed of countless smaller, loose particles like grains of sand. Another example is a flower that looks very beautiful, but it is also formed by countless small particles. If you magnify it, you will find that it is filled with all kinds of ugly microorganisms, including its bright colors. If you look at it through a different colored mirror, then it might become very ugly or even terrifying. There are many lives in the world, and everyone is confused. No one knows what is the most primitive truth. I am afraid that it is difficult for people to explore the way of heaven, the true truth of life and everything. Yu Yang answered. Is this the reason why you are willing to live in an illusion? The illusory voice asked. Even if I am not willing, I do not have the right and ability to choose. Yu Yang shook his head and sighed. From the moment I was born, I was a mortal, not an omnipotent God. As a mortal, what can I do? I need to eat when I am hungry, I need to wear clothes when I am cold, I feel pain when my body is hit, and I feel sad when my spirit is frustrated. Even if I want to work hard and change my fate, what can I do? I don't know which choice is right, and I don't know which choice is wrong. Sometimes I know that a choice is wrong, but I still have to do it. Can I choose freely? Impossible. Do I have the ability to choose freely? Not at all. So, mortals are simply useless. Yu Yang retorted sarcastically. Do you think I want to be like this? Even if you pass the Virgo temple, the gate of life and death, the trial ground, and finally come to the Codex, with your strength, do you think the Codex will choose you? The illusory and emotionless voice asked. How would I know if I don't try? Yu Yang did not have an answer in his heart. You feel that you have transcended yourself, and you have comprehended creation and destruction. Why can't you leave the endless world? The illusory voice suddenly asked a question. Why do you think that the 3 gods' messengers are good guides? Can't they be the servants of the evil deities, working hard for the resurrection of the evil deities, luring all the harmful factors that might obstruct the resurrection of the evil deities into the cage of the endless world in the silver grimoire? I actually am often tricked. I don't care this time. Yu Yang laughed out loud. If they never let you out, what will you do? Dream forever in this illusory world? Dream of your lover and family coming to your side like what you did just now? The illusory voice asked. 1,000,000 years, if it's no different from a second. Yu Yang nodded and said with certainty, if that's the case, it doesn't matter. Then continue to sleep and dream, mortal. We will talk again after 1,000,000 years. The illusory voice became softer and finally disappeared without a trace, as if it had never appeared. 1,000,000 years? Yu Yang closed his eyes and stretched his hands. It's enough for me to create the illusory wonderland in my mind in this endless world. He didn't even have time to start creating. Suddenly, his heart felt something. Yu Yang opened his eyes and saw that there were 3 little Lolas, who were even younger than Shuang Er, surrounding him and looking at him curiously. What the heck, what was going on? Yu Yang shamelessly created a colorful lollipop and shook it. Tell me, what are your names? Listen carefully, the one who answers the fastest will get a lollipop as a reward. This was a trick that was usually used to coax children, but it had no effect on the 3 little Lolas. They looked at Yu Yang as if he was an idiot, making him feel very awkward. The little Lolas on the left with a round and pink face said in a childish voice, there was an idiot who used this trick before. Yu Yang was furious when he heard this and righteously condemned. How preposterous, there are actually such unscrupulous people who lie to children. Don't worry, brother is definitely not that kind of person. The little Lolas on the right with short hair was so cute that she covered her mouth and laughed secretly. The one in the middle was a little Lolas with delicate features. Her expression was calm and indifferent as she pointed to the left. She's called creation. The one on the right pointed. She's called destruction. The 2 little hands retracted. I'm called eternity. When you truly understand what creation, destruction, and eternity are, then you can truly transcend this endless world. Chapter 1132. In order to not waste everyone's time, I feel that you guys should give us more hint. That would be more efficient. Yu Yang pretended to be modest and open-minded, listening respectfully and modestly like a gentleman. The 3 little Lolas were speechless. What was called a rascal? This was it. What could they do when encountering such a rascal? Give me some more hints. Otherwise, if I let this scoundrel gang hang on to me, I'll definitely pester them endlessly. The delicate little Lolas in the middle smiled but did not speak. The little Lolas on the right with short hair hummed cutely, indicating that she would not give any hints easily. On the other hand, the little Lolas on the left with a round face was especially kind. She was a good-tempered and soft-hearted little Lolas. She gestured for Yu Yang to look over, and explained further in a childish voice, creation is actually everywhere. Not only the powerful gods, even the useless mortals and ordinary people that you said can also be created. There are many forms of creation. There is creation in the form of consciousness, creation in the form of material objects, creation in the form of energy, creation in the form of life, creation in the form of enlightenment, creation in the form of law. Creation is endless, from the galaxy to the universe, to the dust particles, from the indescribably big to the indescribably small. Everything is in creation. There are fast and slow creations. There are instantaneous creations, eternal creations. There are magnificent creations, simple and humble creations. There are positive creations that are kind and masculine, and there are negative creations that are vicious and sinister. Endless creation formed the world that we see, and there are countless worlds that we know or do not know, forming even larger worlds, layer upon layer, for thousands of years, from ancient times to the future. Everything has evolved in creation. You and I are both in it. You are both the creator and one of the creations of the world. If you think that you are immortal, then you are immortal. If you think that you are the Creator, then you are the Almighty God that transcends beyond the material world. These are only the creations that I have comprehended. It does not represent everything. There are definitely higher realms than me. As for what realm you can comprehend, it depends on your comprehension and hard work. This is also the difference between each god's realm and power. The round-faced, lowly-named creation enlightened Yu Yang with her childish voice. The lollipop belongs to you. Yu Yang was overjoyed as he stuffed the lollipop in his hand into the hands of the little lowly that he had created. Although this is a little childish, it is still your true intention. Thank you. This is the first time I have received such a gift. The chubby, round-faced, lowly creation smiled like a flower and licked the rainbow-patterned lollipop adorably with her little tongue. Creation feels a little better now. What about destruction? Yu Yang turned to look at the short-haired destruction lowly. Destruction is creation is destruction. The short-haired little lowly gave such an answer, scaring Yu Yang. I don't understand. Yu Yang shook his head and waved his hands. Stupid! The short-haired destruction lowly on the right unceremoniously criticized Yu Yang. She was not as easy to talk to as creation. It doesn't matter if you are stupid. I can warm your bed. Please take care of me. Yu Yang smiled mischievously. Why would I talk to such a person? The short-haired destruction lowly rolled her eyes. She had a cute, I've been defeated by you look on her face. She was so cute that Yu Yang resisted the urge to pinch her face with great difficulty. The little lowly destruction straightened her face and put on a serious look. She raised a jade finger. I won't talk about the theoretical stuff. You figure it out yourself. However, I can explain 1 or 2 examples during your training. Whether you can comprehend it or not depends on yourself. Creation said that you can create even if you are immortal. For example, when you met that stupid dog called Hui Tai Lang, you created its future. It was originally impossible for it to reach the realm of the world exterminating demon wolf. However, because of you, its future changed. This is creation. Of course, because its future has changed, this stupid dog's strength has become many times stronger because of you. In the process of following you, it has destroyed many living and non-living creatures, killed many living creatures and beasts of various forms, eaten many things that were originally impossible to eat, swallowed a lot of energy that was originally impossible to assimilate. In short, it has done many things that have exceeded its original path of life. These actions can be said to be a kind of new creation. Your creation, its creation, is also a kind of destruction. Because of your appearance, Hui Tai Lang has become a world-destroying demon wolf. Towering mountains that reach the clouds have been razed to the ground by it, patches of forests have been burned to the ground by it, and all kinds of living creatures have died because of it. Isn't all this a kind of destruction? It is destruction. At the same time, it is also a new creation that belongs to your personal training and its growth. That's why I said that destruction is creation, and creation is destruction. The short-haired little lowly concluded. Then is this a bad thing or a good thing? Yu Yang was dumbfounded. He had never thought about this answer. Destruction is sometimes a good thing, and sometimes a bad thing. The cute little lowly destruction smiled. Why do you say that? Yu Yang asked. In the endless world of creation, if there is more positive energy, then the area will be more beautiful and wonderful. If there are more good people and fewer evil people in a place, then the people in that place will be relatively moral, and they will get along very well. There will be no murder, no war, no scheming, and no deceit, and no other negative things like that. On the contrary, if a place had too much negative energy, that place would be like a garbage dump. It would stink to the extreme, and people would fight bitterly with each other for small profit. Everyone would plunder from other people or the earth with an insatiable appetite. In short, that kind of place would be a dirty garbage dump that would make people feel like it was going to be destroyed quickly. For those areas that constantly use violence or cunning to constantly destroy other people's lives or the Earth's creation, cleansing and destruction is a necessary means. That is a good thing in a big way. In the process of your cultivation and growth, you've killed many people, taken many lives, and plundered many treasures and resources. You can't say that you've done everything with a clear conscience, but overall, the destruction you've carried out is far from what you've created. In a big way, not only do you use the power of creation and destruction, but you also bring a balance and a stable environment that is more conducive to the creation of others. So, strictly speaking, or in some standards, you are actually not a very bad person. If you can always maintain your original self, bring more joy to others with creation, and bring more stability to others with destruction, then you will never fall. If a warrior falls, he will face a terrible seal, right? Yu Yang listened to this and felt a little scared. Complete fall, that is the final destruction, erasure, the destruction of all the existences related to the life of creation, as if this life had never existed, and no one will remember it again. If there is a trace of redemption, then that is the seal. Of course, the degree of destruction is different depending on the degree. This standard is higher than mine, and I can't say a higher level of destruction. The short-haired destruction, little Loli, told Yu Yang that there was a higher level of destruction above her. What needs to use the power of destruction as a standard? Yu Yang asked, not really understanding. Use your heart, use your original self to judge. What if your judgment is wrong? That is, you have not truly discovered your original self, and have not truly reflected your most original and purest heart. After listening, Yu Yang took a deep breath. He had an urge to immediately understand, but he forced himself to resist, because the time was not right. There was still a more profound and mysterious eternal little Loli that he had not asked. This eternal, who was smiling quietly, was the leader of the three of them. If he could not get her guidance, it would be the biggest regret of his life. While his mind was surging, Yu Yang looked at the gentle and pretty little Loli in the middle. Then what is eternal? The pretty little Loli, who called herself eternal, raised her small face and looked quietly at Yu Yang. The best creation is eternal, and the best destruction is also eternal. Yu Yang was stunned. This answer was once again beyond his imagination. The little Loli looked up at Yu Yang and laughed. In this world, there are always some creations that are hard to destroy, and there are also some things that are hard to forget. Only mortals who can truly comprehend eternity would be able to transcend and become God. Mortals can know what eternal is, but mortals can't control eternal. Mortals are always drifting between creation and destruction. They are born at once and fall to the ground with a cry. During our conversation, they grow up and become high-spirited. Just because they have a little ability, they become pretentious and arrogant. But during our conversation, they grow old. Their hair turns white, their teeth fall out, and their originally strong bodies become weak and powerless. Wrinkles and death aura occupy their bodies. It is the same for women. Their originally beautiful faces wither and eventually become skeletons, and the gorgeous skin on the surface no longer exists. These are the pitiful mortals, some weak lives that constantly enjoy or struggle between creation and destruction, but have no way to escape. They have extremely poor willpower. They enjoy the slightest bit of pleasure, indulge their desires, and stay up all night long. They cry at the slightest bit of pain. They can't bear the blow, and they are unwilling to improve themselves and surpass themselves. If you want to jump out of this limitation, you must surpass them. Only when you completely surpass that limitation can you obtain your true self, and can truly live in eternal. Because once you have eternity, you will have a body that will never break, knowledge that will never be wrong, and will that will never be shaken. Then, in your long life, you will be able to create everything for yourself, and obtain supreme happiness and happiness. You will be far away from all the sufferings that mortals are immersed in. Only when you reach that realm can you be considered as truly powerful and real, and not as illusory as smoke. This is eternity. If I can't comprehend eternal, then I am just a dream. Yu Yang's mind trembled. You're not even in eternity. In the blink of an eye, you'll vanish in the vast sea of people. In the endless great world, you're not even a speck of dust. Millions of years later, who will remember your existence? Who will know of your existence? What meaning does your existence bring to others? No matter how wonderful a person's life is, in the river of billions of years, he is not even a speck of light in the galaxy. On the contrary, if you are eternal, then you are the Lord of Time, the Lord of Creation, and the Lord of Destruction. Your existence gives all lives in your life the most basic meaning of existence, and then extends to more and more intersections. Everything is created by you, everything is arranged by you, everything is controlled by you. Can such a you still be a dream? The eternal, lowly standing in the middle smiled. Her little face was shining, and that was the light of endless wisdom. Yu Yang slowly closed his eyes. He opened his arms. His stretched body casually fell down. It was like a kind of embrace, but also like a peaceful sleep. It was as if his body and mind had long become one with heaven and earth, and there was no longer a single barrier. In the next second, his body bloomed with billions of rays of light, like a sun illuminating the entire endless world. The entire endless world, at some point, had become Yu Yang's heart. It was shining. Chapter 1133. Earth Valley, Outer Mountain. Although true talents were welcomed everywhere, there was no place in the world that valued talents more than the mountain beyond mountain. The Outer Mountain was originally ruled by 10 deities. However, the 2 strongest of them had fought for the position of the ruler for 10,000 years, causing immeasurable losses to the subterranean valley and the Outer Mountain. Because of this, the 8 deities who were implicated in the 10,000-year war decided to join forces. Taking advantage of the weakened state of the 2 strongest deities, who were heavily injured from fighting each other, they turned their divine bodies into ashes and sealed their divine senses deep under the Outer Mountain. When the 2 strongest deities fell, the 8 evenly matched deities who were injured in the joint sealing war decided to take charge of the 8 worlds of the Outer Mountain. At the same time, they brought in outstanding talents from the subterranean valley, hoping to restore the Outer Mountain that was devastated by the War of the Deities as soon as possible. For 10,000 years, no matter what kind of talent, as long as they came from Earth Valley to Outer Mountain, they would be hired. The 8 gods were in charge of the 8 worlds. In an era of peace, the god nation they decided to build needed a large number of talent. Therefore, anyone who came here would be worth 100 times more, and everyone would fight to hire them. Receiving platform of Outer Mountain. The messenger on duty, Old Spear, sighed all day long. The rule here was that every year, the messenger representing each side could be on duty for a month. During this time, the talents received would belong to the representative on duty, unless they had signed a divine contract with the other side. For the remaining 4 months of the year, the 8 messengers would join forces to recruit talents, and the highest bidder would get them. The problem was, the messenger of the Southeast God Nation, Old Spear, had been on duty for 28 days, but had not received a single talent. He was far from the 3 talents mission given by his superiors. How could Old Spear not be anxious? How could he not drink and sigh all day long? Old Spear no longer hoped to achieve the mission. He only hoped that he would receive a talent, so that he would not have to eat eggs. Talents nowadays are getting fewer and fewer. It wasn't like this 6,000 years ago. Whether it was Heaven Realm or Tong Tian Tower, they were constantly sending talents to Earth Valley. Even if many of them were not willing to stay for long, it would not be a problem for them to train for a period of time. Now, there aren't even many youngsters who come to the Outer Mountains to train. Alas, it's really getting worse year by year. Old Mouse shook his head and sighed. He picked up the wine gourd and poured a mouthful of wine into his mouth. He reckoned that he would not be able to keep his career of never breaking eggs. If he had known this would happen, he would have retired 3 years ago. Now, he could not even keep his integrity in his old age. "Sir, someone seems to be coming over there." As an oracle, Old Spear was considered a middle-level official in the outer mountains. Based on his identity and status, he could have several servants. The one who spoke now was a clever little guy with a vision like that of an eagle. This little smartass was called Grasshopper. He wasn't very strong, and he didn't have the ability to become a talented person and enter the outer mountains. However, he was eloquent and had superb eyesight. He could be considered a talent. Therefore, when Old Spear was on a business trip to the underground valley, he took a fancy to him and brought this young, clever boy, who was only 300 years old, back to Beyond Mountains and took him in as his servant. When Old Spear heard this, his hand that was pouring wine into his mouth suddenly stopped. Someone's coming? Could it be that a really talented person had come? Could it be that God had eyes and couldn't bear to see him lose his integrity in his old age, so at the last moment when he was about to eat eggs in disgrace, he sent him a talented person? Look carefully. Maybe it's a divine servant who has returned from a business trip to the underground valley. Don't be mistaken. Old Spear suppressed the excitement in his heart. In fact, he had already used his eyesight to see clearly. The person who came was really a new talent who had never been registered before, and not a divine servant who had gone to the underground valley on a business trip. But what puzzled Old Spear was that this talent, who seemed to have come from the sky, was really too young. According to the natural fluctuations of life coming from his body, Old Spear found that this young man was actually only about 20 years old. Only 20 years old? Unbelievably young. It should be known that in a place like the underground valley, 300 years old was just an adult, and 20 years old was not even a kid. To put it bluntly, this young man who was only 20 years old might not even be weaned on milk yet. Welcome, welcome. Whether the other party had weaned on milk or not, Old Spear felt that he had to take down this young man who was as young as a baby. Otherwise, his career of not eating eggs for thousands of years would not have a glorious and perfect ending. Old Spear usually had a bit of pride in his identity when he received talents, and the first contact he would definitely be with a servant. But now, he didn't care about his identity as a divine emissary, and rushed forward to grab the hand of the person who came. Where is this? The person was not only young, but also muddle-headed. He had come to the mountain beyond, and didn't even know where he was. It really made him speechless. Welcome, this is the receiving platform of the mountain beyond. I am the divine emissary of the southeastern divine kingdom, Malpadi. You can call me Old Spear. Old Spear, who would never allow himself to eat eggs, put on a face full of smiles and did not let go of the person's hand. He was extremely enthusiastic. The receiving platform of the mountain beyond? The person was stunned when he heard this. After a long while, he murmured to himself, I was actually thrown to the mountain beyond by that guy? The clever big brother beside Old Spear immediately realized that something was wrong. This person was too young, and he seemed to have no sense of direction. He must have gotten lost and taken the wrong way, which was why he had inexplicably come to this receiving platform. He was not a genius who had been teleported here because he had fulfilled the conditions. He hurriedly reminded his master, Old Spear, My lord, this doesn't seem right. What kind of person was Old Spear? He was a super smart person who had never made a mistake in thousands of years. As a divine emissary, if he couldn't tell at a glance that something was wrong, then he would have lived for thousands of years in vain, and had also been blind as a divine emissary. However, for the sake of that shameful record that was about to be born, he decided to pretend to be blind for a while. Anyway, the young man in front of him was still too young. Even if his current strength had not reached the standard of a talent, he was still worth training. Wasn't there a saying that youth was the greatest potential? He waved his hand and interrupted Grasshopper. There is nothing wrong with this is a talent. Little friend, ah no, little brother, may I ask what your name is? My surname is You, and my name is Titan. The person who was thought to have no sense of direction was an extremely handsome guy. It would have been fine if he didn't smile, but when he did, it was simply incredible. Old Spear was glad that he didn't like men and wasn't a woman, otherwise he would have been charmed by this brat. Titan You, is it? I'll just call you Little Titan. Little Titan, what are your specialties? Old Spear gestured to Grasshopper to register as a talent. Specialties? Does being handsome count? As soon as Titan You opened his mouth, Grasshopper, who was in charge of registration, fell to the ground, almost having a brain hemorrhage. Cough, 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 there's no need to talk about being handsome. Everyone can see that other than being handsome. Do you have any other specialties? Old Spear wasn't angry at all. Firstly, he needed a talent like Titan You to protect his perfect divine emissary career, so that he wouldn't be shamed. Secondly, he was still a young man, so he was always a little arrogant. He was only a 20-year-old kid, so what was the point of arguing with him? Other than being handsome, I'm also good at many other things. I'm not a pretty boy who's good for nothing other than my face. Titan You scratched his head, unable to say what else he was good at. Then I'll write handsome as your specialties first. Old Spear felt that he didn't need to make things difficult for this little kid. He was only 20 years old, and it was already amazing that he could stop drinking milk. What other specialties could he have? Wouldn't asking him this kind of thing be making things difficult for him on purpose? Old Spear waved his hand, telling Grasshopper to write handsome as his specialties. Grasshopper reluctantly filled it in, pursing his lips. He felt that being handsome was useless. Being handsome couldn't be used to make a living. Thank you. In the future, when I think of my specialties, I'll definitely tell you. Titan You thanked Old Spear gratefully. You're welcome. It's enough that you have this specialties. Old Spear patted Titan You's shoulder, indicating that this specialties were also very valuable. Especially that smile that was brighter than the sun, it was extremely lethal. Women couldn't resist it at all. Old Spear felt that he had to be more careful in the future. It would be best if he didn't bring this Titan You back to his house for a banquet. Otherwise, all the women in his house would be hooked away by this brat's smile. Can you tell us where you're from? If you need to keep it a secret, it's fine if you don't tell us. Grasshopper was very unhappy. Originally, he was considered the most handsome by Lord Malpudi's side. He was also young, so many people around him, including Malpudi's family, doted on him. There were even people who said that he was Lord Malpudi's illegitimate son. Now that this Titan You had come, his position was in danger. In terms of age, this Titan You was even younger. He was only 20 years old, so young that it was unreasonable. It was even more incomparable in terms of appearance. This little wimp was truly a handsome guy. He was so handsome that it made people jealous. Just one smile would suffocate people. If Lord Malpudi had specially introduced this Titan You, then his own position would probably be replaced by this brat. Although he was very unhappy in his heart, he didn't dare to show it on the surface. Instead, he beat around the bush, hoping to understand more about the other party. After all, only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you emerge victorious in every battle. For an upright person like me, there's nothing to keep secret. There's nothing that I can't tell others. Titan You patted his chest, indicating that he was an upright gentleman who could withstand the organization's test. He was worthy of the world, the earth, and the people. However, this kind of attitude did not reduce the unhappiness in Grasshopper's heart. Instead, it made him feel even more annoyed. He thought to himself, isn't he just a 20-year-old brat? How many days have you lived? How many things have you experienced? Even if you want to keep secrets, you have to live a few more days and experience a few more storms. Tong Tian Tower? After Old Spear heard Titan Yu's reply, he frowned. Tong Tian Tower has been around for thousands of years. It seems like there aren't many newcomers. What happened over there? Nothing happened. It's pretty good. Titan Yu indicated that there was something wrong with Tong Tian Tower. How did you come to Mountain Beyond Mountain? Grasshopper couldn't help but ask this question. Originally, he couldn't ask this question in detail, as it involved the privacy of a person's training. However, towards Titan Yu, who had lost his way and ended up in Mountain Beyond Mountain, Grasshopper really couldn't help but ask. I don't know either. Originally, I was cultivating in a place, and just when I was about to finish cultivating, an unknown guy, probably an inhumane and emotionless bastard, suddenly threw me, who was absorbing energy to my heart's content, here, and even asked me to take something. Titan Yu spread his hands and shook his head, even more muddle-headed than a muddle-headed person. God knows what that means. In any case, I somehow ended up here. I'm not too sure either. Ah, that's right. Old Spear was stunned for a long time. If it wasn't for his own career as a guide, he definitely wouldn't accept such a muddle-headed person. However, he didn't have a choice right now, so he could only turn a blind eye. Furthermore, although the other party was young, he had potential. It was true that he had a bad sense of direction, but it was possible that he had a big shot backing him. Otherwise, why would he be sent to Mountain Beyond Mountain? This kind of person should be treated as a freeloader. It wouldn't be much to accept one more. Furthermore, the big shot behind him might be a deity, or even the one from the Southeast God Kingdom. Otherwise, why would he be sent to Mountain Beyond Mountain when he was on duty? No matter what, it was a must to accept this Titan Yu. Whether or not he could get on the good side of the big shot behind him, let alone help him temporarily. At the very least, he couldn't offend that kind of super big shot who could easily send people to Mountain Beyond Mountain. Grasshopper was a quick-witted person. He had also thought of this point. His jealousy towards Titan Yu was still there, but the thought of secretly making a move to trip him up was immediately scared out of his mind. Little Titan, according to your age and strength, you are still a little short of our standards. However, we, the Southeast God Kingdom, do not stick to one pattern when it comes to talent. You have potential, so we have decided to hire you. As long as you agree, you can sign this God contract. Of course, this is only temporary. When your strength has increased and you have proven your worth, you will receive a higher salary and better treatment. Old Spear gave Titan Yu a special talent God contract that Grasshopper had been looking forward to for many years, but had never been able to obtain. Temporary trainee divine servant? Titan Yu glanced at the God contract and shook his head in dissatisfaction. I will not be a slave for others. I am a young master at home. Grasshopper fell to the ground again. You are a hedonistic young master. Even a blind person can see that. No matter what your status at home is, when you come to Mountain Beyond Mountain, without strength, you are not even worth a fart. Although it was a temporary trainee divine servant, the treatment was 100 times better than Grasshopper, who had already contributed tens of years of labor to the Southeast God Kingdom. This brat was still not satisfied. He must have seen a ghost. Divine servant is not a real slave, but a title of a rank. Old Spear smiled bitterly and explained. Initially, there were no divine servants. There were only divine attendants, divine envoys and divine generals. However, because we wanted to attract a large number of talents who could not reach the standard of divine attendants, we specially created a divine servant, which is a lower rank than divine attendant. Divine servant means a servant who represents God in this world. To a certain extent, it represents God's will. How is it bad? Grasshopper could not help but roar crazily. In any case, I will not be a servant, even if it is God's servant. Titan Yu expressed that there was no room for discussion. Even if you want to, You don't have the qualifications." Grasshopper was completely enraged. "Brat, could you at least have a little bit of self-awareness and a little bit of shame in your heart? You don't want to give face? Then I will go back." Titan Yu turned around and left. Don't ever go back. Coming here is a kind of fate." Old Spear hurriedly stopped him. On second thought, if the Supreme Being who sent Titan Yu here was really the one above him, and he sent the seed of potential back home, he reckoned that he would not be able to complete the mission. Getting scolded would be a light punishment, and he might even be punished with a thunderous rage. This was not something he could bear. As he thought of this, he secretly shivered. He hurriedly put on a smile. "I, Old Spear, am only a divine envoy. My authority is actually quite limited. However, I will do my best to give you a divine contract as a trainee divine attendant. What do you think?" "Master?" Grasshopper almost thought that his master had gone crazy. "You shut up." Old Spear felt that at this time, if he did not sacrifice the child, he would not be able to catch the wolf. In order to keep this Titan Yu, he would have to pay a little bit of blood to recognize him. In any case, he was not restricted to one type of talent. No matter what, he had to get the talent first. Chapter 1134. In order to draw a perfect end to his career as a guide, Old Spear used his greatest authority and unprecedentedly hired Titan Yu, whose only specialty was handsomeness, as a trainee divine servant. Even though his subordinate big brother strongly objected, and Titan Yu, who had no self-awareness at all, was still dissatisfied, Old Spear still managed to convince Titan Yu no matter how hard he tried. Grasshopper had the urge to commit suicide. Comparing oneself to others would only make one angry. He had served the Southeast God Kingdom for tens of years, yet he could not even become a trainee God's servant. This brat came and became a trainee God's servant, and he was still unsatisfied. This really made him speechless. But what could he do? Who told him not to encounter such a good opportunity that only came once in 1,000 years? If he had come to the receiving platform at the end of his master's career, Grasshopper did not dare to think further. Of course, thinking back, Master Mao Padi treated him well, like a nephew, helping him everywhere. If not for Master Mao Padi's appreciation, he would never have been able to make a name for himself. Thinking of this, Grasshopper's resentment towards Old Spear completely disappeared. But towards this pretty boy Titan Yu, who was so lucky that he did not know what kind of dog shit he stepped on, he was extremely jealous and resentful. Of course, the clever Grasshopper would not show his jealousy too much. Firstly, he had to take care of Master Mao Padi's face, and not let Master Mao Padi lose face. Secondly, this was really unwise. So what if he was unwilling? The result was already set. If he continued to argue, he would only become enemies with his opponent, and immediately create conflict and hatred. Bring him to the receiving platform to rest. After 2 days, we will depart and return to the Southeast God Kingdom. With the divine contract in his hands, Old Spear was in a good mood. "Yes, master," Grasshopper replied respectfully, but swept a cold glance at Titan Yu. "Follow me." "What level are you?" Titan Yu, this newbie, actually reminded him. "If your level is lower than mine, then you should be more respectful." "Ah, you." When Grasshopper heard this, he kicked his heels and almost stumbled to the ground. He thought to himself, "You're just a newbie, and you're no different from a pig waiting to be slaughtered. I didn't let you treat me to a meal, so I slashed you. I'm already being merciful, and you still dare to lecture me? Who do you think you are? Looks like I have to teach you the rules. If there's anything you need, you can ask him to do it. Of course, you're still a newbie and there are many things you don't know. You can also ask Grasshopper. He's a know-it-all." Old Spear tried to smooth things over, reminding Grasshopper to be careful and not compete with the newcomer. He also reminded Titan Yu that the newcomer should be more humble and learn more from the seniors. Yes, my lord. With old Spear here, Grasshopper naturally wouldn't fall out with you young. He put on a smile and said, Lord Divine Servant, please come with me. That's more like it. Titan Yu swaggered off. He didn't feel like a restricted newbie, but more like a hedonistic young master teasing girls on the street. He completely treated Grasshopper as his lackey. Old Spear saw this and secretly shook his head. If he had any other choice, he definitely wouldn't have chosen this Titan Yu. But he was lacking in talent. Now that the escort stage was deserted, where would he find another talent? Moreover, this Titan Yu was still young, and he had a supreme being supporting him from the shadows. His future achievements were just around the corner. Investing in him now wasn't without returns. If it wasn't for the fact that the escort stage couldn't easily leave the escort stage, he would have personally brought this strange newbie to the escort stage to rest. Who was the supreme being that had sent Titan Yu to the escort stage? Could it be the one on top of his head? If the answer was yes, then wouldn't he have done a great service? It was a pity that Titan Yu's words just now were a little unclear. He couldn't be sure and couldn't find out the details of the inside story. Forget it, he'll think about it later. Maybe the supreme being behind him wanted to do things secretly and didn't want to make it public. Old Spear was in a good mood as he watched Titan Yu and Grasshopper leave. At the very least, his career as an escort had come to a perfect end. 3 hours later, in the sky, a golden light flashed. Several divine envoys dressed in luxurious clothes stood proudly under the lead of an awe-inspiring god general covered in golden armor. Old Spear turned pale with fright when he saw this. He hurriedly rushed forward and blocked the few people. He shouted sternly, Jizhong, what are you doing here? This month is our southeastern god kingdom's escort month. Your western god kingdom still has 2 months before it's your turn. Now that you've forcefully come here to intercept people, could it be that you want to break the gods' peace pact made by the 8 great gods and declare war on our southeastern god kingdom? Spearpity, you've really gone senile. The leader, a tall divine general clad in golden armor, strode over and looked down at Old Spear. He snorted coldly, with the generosity of our West God nation, who in the underground valley doesn't know about it. Who doesn't know? Talents are all coming to serve under my master, fighting to be the first to sign the God's peace pact. Why do we need to intercept your talents? Besides, do you still have talents to receive now? You can't even wait for one in a month, can you? Ha 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 ha, the subterranean valley may be big, but where are the talents and elites willing to serve under your southeastern god kingdom? Even if there are, they're probably trash and trash. Let me be kind enough to tell you a piece of news. Poor old man, your southeastern god kingdom won't have any more elite talent. Even if there is one, you won't be able to receive them. Why? Because all the talents have signed the God's peace pact with our Western God Kingdom. It's not just you. Other than the East God Kingdom, all the other God Kingdoms won't be receiving anyone within 100 years. That's what I'm saying. Do you understand? Even if you stay here for 100 years, you won't receive a single elite. You broke the God's peace pact. You actually took the initiative to steal people from the subterranean valley? Old Spear's face was red with anger. They signed with us willingly and of their own accord. We didn't force them. Do you understand? We didn't break the God's peace pact, and we didn't steal people. It's just that your terms weren't generous enough, and you couldn't attract elites to join. Ah! The tall god general called Jizhong reached out and pushed Old Spear away. Jizhong, you bastard! Old Spear was shaking with anger, but he could do nothing to the other. This sort of trick was extremely despicable, but he could not find a flaw in it. We had the same starting point, and I'm already a god general today. What about you? Jizhong spat disdainfully. You have no right to lecture me. If not for you back then. Old Spear gritted his teeth, forcing himself to calm down. Hey, you still have the face to talk about back then? How many people did you kill because of your cowardice and hypocrisy? Ji Zhong waved his hand forcefully, his power exploding. He sent Old Spear flying dozens of meters away, viciously slamming Old Spear's body to the ground. You hate me, and I hate you even more. If not for trash like you, she wouldn't have died. Trash like you, live on, because I want to see you suffer for the rest of your life. And now, it's just begun. What's going on? A voice as majestic as a god's rang out from the transportation gate on the escort platform. Brilliant light shone. A light and majesty even more intense than the descent of a god. It filled the entire escort platform in an instant, like the sun breaking through. Not only the noble and arrogant oracles, but even the tall golden-armored General Ji Zhong knelt down on one knee, almost as respectful as the Lord God of the West God Nation, to welcome the visitor. At first, Old Spear thought that the visitor was the Lord God of the West God Nation, and he was scared out of his wits. There was a sense of fear in his heart that made him want to kneel down and beg for forgiveness. But because of his identity as the escort envoy of the Southeast God Nation and his own willpower, he could barely resist it. He desperately suppressed the fear. But even so, he lowered his head, not daring to look at the visitor. Ji Zhong's voice was full of joy. Welcome, young master. Ji Zhong has been waiting here for 1,000 years, just to welcome young master's arrival today. The voice of the godlike visitor was soft and clear like a spring, but it could easily penetrate the bottom of one's heart. It was sharper than a sharp arrow. Call me by my new identity. You can call me young master. It's fine if you're one of us, but outsiders might be suspicious if they hear it. Yes, young master. Then Ji Zhong will be presumptuous. Golden Armored General Ji Zhong presented a divine contract to the visitor with both hands. In order to temporarily conceal young master's identity, Ji Zhong will temporarily give young master the identity of a trainee god's servant. In the future, young master can say that you're Ji Zhong's descendant. Your identity in the Earth Valley and the personnel arrangements in the mountain beyond mountain have also been made. Please take a look. I'm at ease with you taking care of things. The visitor took the divine contract and chuckled. Who would have thought that I, Ji Wuri, have already reached the Earth Valley? Evil deities, you clan's boy, Kai Tian, against the heavens, Burning Wind, Wan Mo and everyone in the human valley are all pawns in my palm. Haha, fight, you will never be able to escape from the human valley. The next place that I, Ji Wuri, will conquer is here, the mountain beyond mountain. Ji Zhong and the others stood respectfully behind him, their eyes revealing a devout and fanatical light. Old Spear was so scared that his whole body was cold, and his body was like wood and stone. He couldn't move at all. No one looked at an ant like him, including Ji Zhong, who was his sworn enemy. Everyone followed closely behind the godlike man, turning into a sky full of flowing lights, flying across the sky. Hoo-hoo! I must report this to the God Master. Old Spear, who had climbed up from the ground, couldn't calm his fear even after a long time. Light of Oblivion. Behind him, there was a humanoid beast that looked down on all life in the world. When Old Spear turned around in fear, its slender palm pressed on Old Spear's forehead. With a flash of white light, Old Spear fainted on the ground with a dull look in his eyes. The humanoid beast with purple-gold eyes spat on Old Spear's body contemptuously and said mockingly in human language, "You call this a strong warrior? Humans are really a trash race. Here in the Earth Valley, I finally don't have to be locked in the grimoire to rot like in the human valley. In order to celebrate this rare freedom, I will happily kill 10,000 strong human warriors." The humanoid beast with unfathomable combat power stepped on Old Spear's head with its foot, although it could easily crush his head. But it didn't do so. Maybe it felt that killing such an ant was meaningless, or maybe it was because the death of a guide from the Southeast God Kingdom could easily cause trouble, plus Old Spear's memory had been erased, The humanoid beast with purple-gold eyes lifted its leg in disdain, turned into a gust of wind, and disappeared instantly. Titan Yu, who was resting quietly on the big bed in the reception room, suddenly opened his eyes and smiled. It's a small world, it's a small world. This way, it'll be much more interesting. He didn't know if it was because of Ji Wuri's arrival, or the need of the trial. It was a stroke of luck that the mysterious, emotionless existence in the endless world had thrown him to the Earth Valley's mountain beyond mountain. If he didn't know the situation here, even if he returned to the human valley, he would still have to be on guard and spend all his effort to look for Ji Wuri. Now, he could directly fight him here in the mountain beyond mountain, which saved him a lot of trouble. He didn't need to be restrained like in the human valley. However, who was that mysterious existence in the endless world? How could that fellow have the ability to throw him out of the endless world and bring him to the Earth Valley's mountain beyond mountain? Was it done intentionally to stop Ji Wuri, or was it a chance encounter? Did that mysterious Almighty really want him to come here to look for some ancient relic? Yu Yang thought for a long time, but he couldn't figure it out. In the end, he slapped his head. He was really stupid. Instead of thinking hard, why not ask Queen Vivian Li? It just so happened that he was comprehending creation, destruction, and eternity in the endless world, and had reached the godly state. He could ask her. If that mysterious mighty person hadn't thrown him out of the endless world, he would have completely comprehended and absorbed the unknown divine power of the endless world. If that was really the case, it might not be a good thing. After all, the heavenly sword goddess's request was to build a good foundation, not to break through. With a slight sense, the jealous fellow grasshopper next door was already sleeping soundly. Yu Yang immediately returned to the grimoire world. After reporting the good news to Yu Yu and Princess Sisai, he couldn't wait to enter the black hole sealed space to look for Queen Vivian Li. Chapter 1135. The Black Hole Sealed Space. When he entered this sealed space again, the appearance had changed greatly. The original power of the law had been weakened by at least 80%, and it could only be sensed outside the world of ice and snow created by Queen Vivian Li. After entering the world of ice and snow, Yu Yang found that this was really a wonderful and indescribable crystal world. All the words in the world could not describe this brilliant and extraordinary space of creation. At this moment, Yu Yang could really feel the gap between himself and Queen Vivian Li, and also the power of the Divine Supreme. Everything was created with the hands. One thought, one world. Only such an existence could be called a god. Empress Fei Wenli, who had sensed Yu Yang's presence, personally came to welcome him. However, before she could embrace her beloved little boy, she was stunned to discover that the Yu Yang who had entered once again was completely different from before. The more Queen Vivian Li looked, the more surprised she became. Finally, she covered her mouth with her hand and barely held back the exclamation that burst from the bottom of her heart. Although she knew that Yu Yang's super talent was unparalleled in the world, she also knew that his comprehension was so outstanding that it was simply unprecedented. This was a genius that only appeared once in 10,000 years. In this world, she believed that no one knew his future and growth better than her. However, even so, when Yu Yang appeared in front of her this time, she still felt incredulous. Divine Supreme. In just a few months, this little guy had actually advanced to the Divine Supreme realm. This was not what surprised Queen Vivian Li the most. What surprised her the most was that the little boy in front of her had far surpassed the Divine Supreme realm and even her greatest imagination. He had reached an extraordinary realm that she had never dreamed of before. You have completely understood creation, destruction, and eternity? Empress Fei Wenli hugged Yu Yang excitedly and kissed his face a few times. I didn't tell you the true meaning of the God realm before because I was afraid that once you understood it, you would advance to the God realm. From then on, your progress would be stagnant and it would be difficult for you to advance as quickly as before. I didn't expect that not only did you comprehend it yourself, but you also far surpassed it. You haven't even been fixed in the divine state. That's great. I've been worried before, but now I'm completely relieved. By the way, how did you do it? What? Yu Yang was still a little confused. I'm saying that you've already reached and surpassed the standard of the God realm, but it's not fixed at your current position. How did you do it? Empress Fei Wenli didn't understand how this little guy could be so different. I don't know. I thought everyone was like this. Yu Yang sweated profusely. Could it be that other people didn't cultivate like this? Ha ha ha, interesting little man, you can't be thinking that after reaching the divine state, you can still improve as quickly as before, right? No, except for you, everyone in the world has the same standard, that is, after reaching the divine state they can show their great power, because they have transcended the human body and reached the divine state, there is no longer any restraint, their mind is unparalleled, they can create everything in the world with a single thought, they can destroy everything in the world with a single thought, they have become eternal in the divine state. Queen Vivian Li laughed and said, warriors like this, can they still improve easily? Of course not. They can't bear hardships, and they can't cultivate their own shortcomings, because everything in their body has surpassed the human body and reached the divine state, which is a relatively eternal state, that is to say, there is no way to easily change, whether it is bad or good. For example, a warrior who has reached the divine realm is like a weak human who has suddenly risen to the innate realm that he could not have imagined before. If there is no higher cultivation method to guide him, then how can he improve? Of course it was impossible, because the pre-celestial realm was already an unimaginable realm for the originally weak human. After reaching it, it would require a long period of time to understand and adapt, condense godhood, and make everything perfect. Only then would one be able to have even higher achievement. Moreover, even so, the progress in the divine state is very small, it is absolutely impossible to be as easy and fast as before, because the divine state warriors have no way to cultivate at all, their potential has been exhausted, and the combination of mind and power, turning into divine thoughts and divine power, they do not need to move their hands and feet, just with a thought they can do all kinds of things. How can they still cultivate like before? Of course, it is impossible. So that is to say, although the human body is extremely weak, it is actually the most precious. When a warrior surpasses the human body, it means that he can no longer make great progress in the future, and is also fixed at a certain realm. It is the first time I have seen a little guy like you who has reached the standard of the divine state, but has not become a god, and is even muddle-headed. Queen Vivian Li sighed in the end. She did not know the reason. However, Yu Yang could be so different, and this was the result that she hoped for the most in her heart. What did this mean? This meant that Yu Yang could continue to grow rapidly in this divine state. When all the other divine state warriors were advancing slowly at the speed of ants, he still had a human body, and could still cultivate and improve like before. In this way, his future achievements. It would be unimaginable. Her words confused Yu Yang. Yu Yang could not help but ask, since all the warriors who have reached the divine state will be fixed at the same realm standard, why is there a difference in the strength of the divine state? Shouldn't it be the same? Queen Vivian Li laughed when she heard this. The divine state is a standard. After reaching the divine state, one will be promoted to a god and be fixed at this position. Yes, this is what I said just now, but I did not say that everyone's level and strength after reaching the divine state is the same. The higher the potential, the more effort the warrior put in cultivation, and the more thorough the understanding of the martial artist, the higher the level he will reach after advancing, and the stronger his strength will be. For example, if a person has 100% potential, put in 100% effort, and 100% understanding of the true meaning of creation, destruction, and eternity, then after he becomes a god, the divine state level he will reach is quite high. Similarly, if a person only has 80% potential, doesn't put in enough effort, and doesn't understand the true meaning of creation, destruction, and eternity, but because of various reasons, he finally reaches the divine state, then how can his level be the same as the former? Hearing this, Yu Yang suddenly understood. Cultivation and talent are different, foundation and comprehension are different, and the achievements are also completely different. After some people reach the divine state, they become a powerful god. Some people also reach the divine state, but only become a small god. No wonder the heavenly sword goddess kept asking him to cultivate. No matter how much time he spent, he had to build a good foundation. It turned out that there was such a limit to his future achievements. If he were to cultivate with such a perfect foundation, he really did not know what kind of realm he would reach in the future after he advanced to the divine state. Of course, not to mention other things, it seemed that the longer he cultivated, the better. Before he completely broke free from the shackles of the human body, before he completely advanced to the divine state, the longer he cultivated, the harder he cultivated, and the more his potential was developed. The more effort he put in and the more content he comprehended, the higher the divine state level he would obtain in the end. If I continue to cultivate like this, wouldn't I be able to go against the heavens? Yu Yang was a little greedy. If he did not reach the divine state, he would not feel that cultivating for 10,000 years was too little, nor would he feel that 100,000 years was too much. It would be best if he could cultivate forever, and finally become the world's number one. What a fool's way of thinking. Everyone's talent and potential is limited. How can he continue to cultivate? There will eventually be a peak. When one's potential reaches the peak, it's impossible to improve even if he wanted to cultivate, because that's the end. Moreover, if one continues to cultivate like this without a goal, who can persevere? Even if there are no accidents in the middle, cultivating without a goal is very likely to cause one to go astray, become a persistent pursuit, and fall into a disadvantageous position. Queen Vivian Li smiled and waved her hand, indicating that this method was not advisable. She then added, moreover, although the speed of cultivation in the divine state is slow, it's not that there is no progress at all. With the accumulation of time, one can naturally improve slowly, just that it's slower than when one cultivates with a human body. Reaching the divine state is safe and comfortable. Although the speed of improvement is a little slower, why not? That's true. Yu Yang laughed. Cultivating is only for the sake of stimulating one's potential faster and better. As long as one's potential reaches its peak, then it would be sufficient for one to attain the immeasurable position of the immortal state. So, don't think too much about it and just focus on cultivating. Queen Vivian Li could not help but give him another kiss. This fellow was too blessed by nature. He reached the divine state but did not advance to become a divine state, and could still continue to cultivate. This made her a little jealous. Understood. Yu Yang remembered the purpose of his trip and asked, I was originally in the human valley. Later on, I entered the Silver Grimoire's endless world to train. After much difficulty, I finally comprehended it. Suddenly, I was thrown to the outer mountains of the underground valley by a mysterious force. Moreover, that mysterious force vaguely transmitted a wisp of consciousness to me, asking me to obtain the underground valley's ancient artifact. The underground valley's ancient artifact was originally in the hands of the two true gods, Taiyan and Bingli. However, they were enemies and died in battle. Now, it's probably in the hands of the fake gods in the outer mountains. Queen Vivian Li shook her head indifferently. The fake gods are the fake gods. If it wasn't for the fall of Taiyan and Bingli, the ancient artifact would never be in their hands. I've also trained in the Silver Grimoire's endless world, but I've never felt the mysterious force that you mentioned. Maybe it's some ancient senior, or some ancient god's remnant consciousness. As for why you were thrown to the outer mountains of the underground valley, There must be a reason. Maybe it's to guide you. If it wasn't for this senior's guidance, I'm afraid you would have uncontrollably advanced to become a divine state, wasting a lot of your potential. How could you be like now, able to continue to cultivate, have the enlightenment of the divine state, and condense your divine persona in advance? Queen Vivian Li did not immediately explain why Yu Yang was thrown to the outer mountains of the underground valley, and not back to the human valley. However, it was obvious that she knew a little about the reason behind it, but she did not specifically explain it. That's really the case. Yu Yang thought about it. If it wasn't for that mysterious and emotionless consciousness that threw him to the outer mountains of the underground valley after absorbing the endless world's energy, he might have already advanced to become a divine state. That was close. In short, it's all because those old ghosts are biased. You, a little fellow, have always been guided by them, while we, on the other hand, have to fumble around on our own. Queen Vivian Li rolled her eyes at Yu Yang unjustly, showing that she was jealous of his fate of having someone watching over him everywhere. Yu Yang laughed out loud. Her Majesty, the Queen, with such an expression, was really too cute. It was extremely rare. After talking for a while, Yu Yang suddenly remembered the true gods and the fake gods that were mentioned just now, and remembered the evil deities that were sealed in the human valley. Hence, he asked the Queen, are there true gods and fake gods in the divine state? Can you tell me about the difference and strength level between the evil deities in the human valley and the fake gods in the mountain valley? Queen Vivian Li thought for a while and replied, although it's not an absolute standard, we call all the divine state warriors who don't have a summoning grimoire fake gods. This is because even if they reach the divine state, they are still relatively weak, and it's impossible for them to have their own world. Their divine power, divine sense, and divine persona are all relatively low, and they are unable to comprehend more in the divine state. There are many flaws in many aspects. Although they are also in the divine state, they are not perfect. On the contrary, we call the divine state warriors who have summoning grimoires and can create their own world that belongs to them, true gods. This means that they are truly omnipotent gods. At least, they are omnipotent in their divine position and below their divine persona. If there is a peak among the true gods, it would be the Holy Sovereign. The Holy Sovereign is the title of our Tong Tian Tower and the Heaven Realm. It means the supreme existence among the true gods. In the past, only warriors who absolutely have the will of a supreme being, a super strong divine persona, and a platinum grimoire or above can be called the Holy Sovereign. Among the Holy Sovereigns, warriors who have divine grimoires and holy grimoires are the Holy Sovereign who surpasses everything. Yu Yang frowned. How many divine grimoires and holy grimoires were there? There seemed to be a lot of ancient great gods. If each of them had one, how would it be enough? Besides, the divine grimoires that they met now did not have an owner. What was the reason for this? Queen Vivian Li could not answer Yu Yang's question. I don't understand about the ancient gods. They have their own reasons and rules of existence. Let's not think about these for the time being. Even if it's not too long ago, there are still quite a lot of powerful seniors. It's not something that we can pry into with our current realm. We'd better train steadily and slowly explore when we reach the top. I believe that it will be the true knowledge that we will be looking for in our lifetime. After a pause, she told Yu Yang a little about the situation of the Earth Valley and the Human Valley, but it was not too detailed. She hoped that Yu Yang would explore it himself. In the end, she could not bear to see Yu Yang disappointed, so she reminded him, "There's nothing to be afraid of with fake gods. You just have to fight carefully. If you can't beat them, just run away. They only have the advantage of numbers. As for the guy from the Human Valley, you have to be careful. Don't let him take back his real body." Yu Yang was worried that Princess Sisai and the others had been waiting anxiously in the grimoire world. He was almost done asking around, so he quickly left. Although Queen Vivian Li was a little reluctant, she did not try to persuade him to stay. She touched Yu Yang's forehead lightly with her slender index finger. She sent a wisp of divine scent. It could be considered as a reward for him. It was also his personal enlightenment and guidance in the divine realm. If it was someone else, they would definitely not exchange this precious experience for any treasure. But now it was completely selflessly presented to him. Her Majesty the Empress sometimes wondered if she was treating this brat too well. When she sent him back, she did not forget to remind him, although you have not fixed your position in the divine realm, you have, after all, comprehended the true meaning. Be careful not to easily share your divine sense with those girls. Otherwise, you might accidentally hurt them. If your strength is not enough, they will be heavily injured because of your divine sense. If your strength is close, they will directly advance to the divine realm because of your divine sense. It will be a great waste of their untapped potential and talent. What? Duo and the others have already advanced? They can still continue to cultivate. Who was the one who guided them? This is really inconceivable. Forget it, I can't care about your matters. You can slowly worry about it yourself. Of course, Yu Yang knew who guided Duo and the others. The Phoenix Sisters. Maybe there was also the heavenly sword goddess behind them. Only they knew how to control their own cultivation in the godly realm, so that they could continue to advance. As he thought of this, Yu Yang suddenly wanted to see the heavenly sword goddess again. Even if he didn't ask or do anything, just by looking at her, he would be able to obtain peace of mind. Chapter 1136. After returning to the grimoire world, Yu Yang, Princess Sisai and Yu gathered together to discuss for half a day. After resting for a night, they went out of the reception center. With regards to Yu Yang's strange experience, Yu and Princess Sisai were both shocked and glad. Duo and the others had not returned from their training, and Shui Wuxia had not woken up. Everyone could only put aside the problem of the divine realm for the time being. In Yu Yang's heart, he actually hoped to see the heavenly sword goddess again in his mental world and get the best guidance from her. However, when he entered the mental world in his sleep, he found that only the big loli was accompanying him to train as usual. There was no trace of the heavenly sword goddess. The heavenly sword goddess was not someone he could see whenever he wanted to. She would only appear and give him pointers during the most important or urgent times. He had to wait patiently. There was no hurry now. The heavenly sword goddess would come out to take a quiz every once in a while. At that time, he could ask her about the divine realm. Yu Yang had broken through the silver grimoire's boundless world and comprehended creation, destruction, and eternity. Although he had been thrown into the Earth Valley's outer mountain and temporarily couldn't find a way to return to Human Valley, this did not affect his good mood. He whistled and slowly got out of bed. He stretched his body. Ignoring grasshoppers knocking on the door, he carefully washed up and slowly opened the door. The door opened, revealing Big Brother's face, which was even darker than a coffin's lid. "I thought you died in there. I called you for a long time, why didn't you respond?" Yu Yang pretended to be surprised, but her lame expression was even worse than those minor actors who only deserved to eat lunchboxes. With one look, one could tell that she was faking it. "Did you call me just now? I didn't hear you. I'm sorry, I really didn't hear you. What's the matter?" Grasshopper could not wait to tear down the door, grab it in his hands and smack this brat to death. With great difficulty, he managed to suppress his anger. "My lord wants you to get ready. We need to set off immediately and return to the southeastern divine nation." Old Spear, who had fainted on the ground yesterday, found that his mind was blank after he woke up. It seemed that there was something very important that he couldn't remember. But no matter how hard he thought, he couldn't remember what it was, which made him restless. He sat there in a daze for a long time, unable to find his lost memories. Even though his body was unharmed and did not seem to have been attacked, the loss of part of his memory made him feel uneasy. After returning to the reception center, Old Spear found that there seemed to be no problem with his memory. The memory of receiving a strange newcomer in his mind was exactly the same as reality. Old Spear really suspected that he had not lost his memory, but he could not explain why he had fainted on the ground, nor could he explain the awkward feeling of losing part of his memory. He thought for the whole night. Unable to find an answer, Old Spear decided to end the summoning and return to the southeastern divine nation in advance. Only when he returned to his own territory could the uneasiness in his heart diminish. Old Spear woke up early in the morning and ordered Grasshopper and a few of his subordinates to make preparations for the return journey. Old Spear might have had some doubts about the strange newcomer Yu Yang, but he could not help but wonder if the powerful being behind Titan Yu had done something to him. He could not help but respect him even more. The journey back was peaceful, but Old Spear was still very cautious and careful. Then, he stepped into the borders of the southeastern divine nation and entered the border pass. Only then did he breathe a sigh of relief. Rest for a day. Tomorrow, we'll hitch a ride on the hovering mothership that will take the border army back to the capital to report on their work after they have been relieved of their duties. You can walk around the border town and buy some necessities, but do not cause any trouble. Old Spear was familiar with the divine general who was stationed at the border town. Before he went to the general's mansion for a banquet, he deliberately gave him a reminder. Yes, sir. Don't worry. Grasshopper quickly made his stance clear. At the same time, he glared at Yu Yang. Can heaven crystals be used here? Yu Yang did not even look at him. He extended his hand and took the small bag Old Spear handed him. He opened it and saw that there were more than 10 heaven crystals inside. He was delighted. Yu Yang did not have a lot of other things on him, but he had quite a lot of heaven crystals. By the looks of it, even if he came to the underground valley, he would not need to live a hard life. Grasshopper did not dare to complain about Old Spear's private gift to Yu Yang, but he felt very indignant in his heart. What a lucky bastard! It had to be known that this small bag of heaven crystals was equivalent to half a year of his salary. Now, he gave it to this pretty boy just like that. He did not even say a word of thanks. Before Old Spear left, he saw his subordinates' expressions and was a little worried. He made an exception and gave each of his subordinates 3 heaven crystals before he left. After all, they were all his trusted subordinates, and he did not want a small bag of heaven crystals to cause a rift in their relationship. 3 heaven crystals might not be as valuable as Yu Yang's small bag, but it was more or less enough to save some of his pride. Grasshopper's expression finally turned for the better. He snorted at Yu Yang. There was a hint of arrogance in his nose, as if he was saying, "After all, I, an old man who has been with the Lord for a long time, is more favored." Yu Yang looked up at the sky and pretended not to see this person, causing Grasshopper to feel powerless, as if he had punched empty air. He felt displeased. The other subordinates were also overjoyed. Once they thanked Old Spear, their kind superior, they hurried out and went to the market at the border outside the inn to buy the specialty products of the border city. Without Grasshopper's unqualified guide, Yu Yang strolled through the market at the border city. The things here were not scarce just because it was located at the borders. On the contrary, the things here were quite abundant. It was a dazzling sight. West God Nation's Earth Essence Mithril, one of the top 10 forbidden items in the 8 Great God Nations trade. There are only 3 bottles now. I risked my life to receive this commission from the Earth Valley's Yun Tian bandit. 1 bottle can be exchanged for 1,000 heaven crystals, no bargaining. Those who are interested in buying it, hurry up. South God Nation's Purple Coral, it is intelligent and clears the heart, only 50. Ink Zhao Wind Chaser, Snow Treading, Purple Lightning, Shocking Thunder, all kinds of rare mounts, all sold for 200 heaven crystals. green snake mark grass. It can cure hundreds of poisons. Eating it can increase the toxicity of plant-type beasts. There are also ambergris wood, iron leaf brambles and star-stamen purple skynet. Selling God Nation's frontier token. With the token, you can pass through the God Nation's frontier. Permanently exchange for heaven crystals, Northeast God Nation's lion rolling snowball, the biggest pearl in the mountains beyond the mountains. This treasure is warm in winter and cool in summer. It emits light day and night. The light is soft and does not dissipate. It is the best choice for decorating a noble's house. The price is 300 heaven crystals. First come, first serve. Come and take a look. As Yu Yang walked through the border town's market, he realized that the market here was even livelier than the plaza in the 6th floor of Tong Tian Tower. What made him feel the most inconceivable was that here, everything could be bought. What prohibited items, what treasures, what pearls and gems. Everything was here. As long as there were enough heaven crystals, one could buy anything in the border town's market. Prohibited items and illegal activities were simply like floating clouds to the merchants here. The most awesome thing was that the fellow who sold the West God Nation's Earth Marrow Mithril was standing right under the top 10 prohibited items warning list. It was as if he was openly challenging the Southeast God Nation's border town's laws. However, the garrison guards standing not far away acted like they were blind, turning a blind eye to it. Yu Yang walked around the market. He didn't sell much, but he still bought a few things that caught his eye. For example, some beast eggs with extremely high growth potential. In Tong Tian Tower, no matter how many beast eggs there were, it would never be enough. Especially the beast eggs with high growth potential that Yu Yang brought back, they had become one of the indicators for the rise of various clans. The kings of various clans fought fiercely for them. If it wasn't for Elder Nan Gong's reasonable arrangements, it might even cause another war. Of course, what Yu Yang needed the most right now was not beast eggs. It was information. Tell me all the secrets you know. Don't stop talking, don't repeat yourself, don't be long-winded. If I'm satisfied, you can get one more heaven crystal every 5 minutes. Yu Yang observed for a long time. In the end, he found a traveling merchant who was very eloquent. He placed 3 heaven crystals on the other party's gemstone scale and promised a large reward. Young master, you were right to find me. I know the secrets of the underground valley the best. I won't be able to tell you everything even if I told you 3 days and 3 nights. Oh right, I heard that a group of ferocious meteorite bandits had just attacked the Fire Island and slaughtered everyone there. After plundering countless treasures, they escaped into the meteorite belt. The South, East and West God Kingdoms are preparing to form an outer realm army to exterminate the bandit. Everyone knows that the underground valley and the outer mountains are constantly moving closer to each other. Once they touch each other, the entire world will be destroyed. Everyone is trying to stop them from moving closer to each other, but the meteorite bandits are destroying them every day, as if they want the end of the world to come sooner. Although the underground valley and the outer mountains will move closer to each other for at least 10,000 years, and we might not meet the end of the world, we still have to fight for the survival of our descendants. The West God Kingdom is currently expanding their military. It is said that they have a 1,000-year plan. They intend to unify the outer mountains and the underground valley within 1,000 years, but I don't know if it's true or not. What's next? Oh right, I still have the biggest secret. After the 2 master gods, Taiyan and Bingli, died, it is said that an ancient relic was lost in the scariest, no man's land in the outer mountains, the land of God perishing. It is also said that the ancient relic was split into 8 parts and is in the hands of the 8 master god. There is also a rumor that the master gods of the East and the West used the excuse that the ancient relic was lost to hide the ancient relic and are secretly absorbing its divine power. The strength of the 2 master gods continues to increase, and they have already far surpassed the other 6 master gods. That's right, it's for you. For the sake of the heaven crystal, that guy tried his best to reveal all the rumors he knew. He talked until his mouth was dry. Yu Yang listened for a long time and finally had a certain understanding of the underground valley and the outer mountains. He felt great and casually grabbed a handful of heaven crystal as a reward. He threw it to the guy who was so tired that his tongue was hanging out and he was panting like a dog. What a generous young master. I think he's either a prince or a marquis. Holding the heaven crystal, the guy who was so tired from talking suddenly regained his energy and started to guess Yu Yang's identity. Unfortunately, no matter how hard he guessed, he would never be able to guess it, although it was just a rumor and could not be completely trusted. But there were also some good points. After Yu Yang got the information he needed, he did not stay any longer and returned to the inn leisurely. Underground valley. Outer mountains. Since he had come to this place, no matter what the situation was, it seemed that it was necessary to get Taiyan and Bing Li's ancient relic. At least the mysterious existence in the Silver Grimoire's endless world needed him to complete this mission. Otherwise, he might not be able to return to the human valley. Ji Wuri had come to the underground valley, but the evil deities were still there. He had to go back to the human valley. Otherwise, everything in the human valley might really be schemed against by that fellow Ji Wuri. If he wanted to get the ancient relic, it seemed that he had to pay attention to one person, and that was the God Master of the West God Nation. Who was that fellow to Ji Wuri? Could it be that he was also from the central shrine? The land of God destruction seemed to be a place worth paying attention to. As Yu Yang was thinking, at the entrance of the inn, a bare-chested giant with extremely strong muscles suddenly squeezed out from the wide door. He angrily glared at Yu Yang, the innocent passerby, as if he was very dissatisfied with Yu Yang walking with his head lowered and disrespectfully giving way to him. "Pelican, don't be rash. We have urgent matters to deal with, don't cause trouble." Following closely behind, there was a middle-aged man wearing a gorgeous fiery red fur who shouted to stop the angry giant. What are you looking at? If you continue to look, I will tear your skinny bones apart." The muscular giant with boundless brute force roared angrily. He glared fiercely at Yu Yang, then helplessly followed the middle-aged man and left, as if he really had important matters to attend to. Otherwise, he might even attack Yu Yang, an innocent passerby who was just passing by. When Yu Yang entered the inn, Grasshopper, who saw everything in the hall, suddenly walked up quickly and warned in a low voice, "Those two people are fallen sky pirates. You idiot newbie, don't provoke those fugitives, they are not people you can provoke." Although Yu Yang was usually very low-key, he would never do anything like trembling his tiger body or releasing his aura like a tortoise. But it didn't mean that he was timid. On the contrary, if someone really provoked him, he didn't mind giving that person a loud slap in the face, to let those arrogant fellows understand what it meant to be slapped in the face. So what if it's a fallen sky pirate? I didn't provoke him. If he dares to attack, I will beat him up so badly that even his mother won't be able to recognize him. Yu Yang shook his head without a care in the world. If this was the legendary falling sky thief, then it was really not enough. TSK, keep bragging. If that big guy really attacked you just now, you would be crying for your mother. Grasshopper snorted disdainfully. If he had the guts to say that in front of those two fallen sky pirates, who didn't know how to brag after the fact. Although there were dozens of heavenly meteorites with different levels of good and bad, even the weakest heavenly meteorites couldn't be provoked by an individual. Even the divine generals of the heavenly meteorites wouldn't dare to say that they could defeat the leader of the heavenly meteorites easily. All right, you win. Yu Yang didn't want to quarrel. He spread his hands, shrugged his shoulders and turned to leave. Interesting, what an interesting young man. It's a pity that he's too young. Sitting at a table in the corner of the hall, there was a bearded man in shabby clothes. He looked very much like those drunkard mercenaries in Tong Tian Tower, who were so poor that they had to pay for their drinks on credit. When Yu Yang walked past him and went up the stairs, Yu Yang, who was holding a wine cup and continuously pouring wine into his mouth, suddenly flashed a terrifying light in his drunken eyes. However, it quickly disappeared, and he returned to the appearance of a drunkard who was in a daze. Chapter 1137. The next day, following Old Spear, Yu Yang followed the border army returning to the capital. They boarded a small airship and boarded a dark purple, shuttle-like super behemoth that was 2 kilometers long, 500 meters wide, and 300 meters tall. It was a flying ship. This gigantic airship called Pelican was not something that the luxurious airships that Yu Yang had ridden on before could compare to. Even the largest airship was just a tiny mosquito in front of it. It was pitifully small. This airship that could easily accommodate tens of thousands of border army soldiers was the hovering mothership that Old Spear had mentioned. It was a super warship that could attack and defend. It was powered by parangons. It would never run dry. There was another record. Ever since Taiyan and Bingli, the two gods, developed and built the hovering mothership, no one had ever been shot down on the battlefield. Even Taiyan and Bingli, the two gods, had fallen. But the hovering mothership that they had created together had never had a record of being damaged in battle. The hovering mothership was also a symbol of the strength of a god nation. For example, the Eastern and Western god nations, the most powerful of the 8 god nations, each had more than 50 hovering mothership. The largest super overlord class hovering mothership was said to be more than 10 kilometers long, 2 kilometers wide, and more than 1 kilometer tall. There were more than 100 decks inside, as well as cabins that could accommodate more than 500,000 people. It was definitely an invincible super overlord of the sky that would sweep away the enemy as soon as they appeared. The overall national strength of the Southeast God Nation was far behind that of the Eastern and Western God Nations. They definitely did not have any super overlord class hovering motherships, and even the smallest ones did not exceed 10. The Pelican that Yu Yang was riding on today could be considered as one of the top 5 airships among all the airships in the Southeast God Kingdom. It had just been commissioned for less than 2 years, so it could still be considered a new ship. Why are there so many merchants and goods other than the border army? Yu Yang found that there were nearly 10,000 merchants boarding the ship behind him, and goods were constantly being shipped in, piling up like a mountain below the ship. Clearly, this Pelican was not just for transporting soldiers. It seemed to be doing some business along the way to earn some transportation fees. There hasn't been a war for a long time. The 8 god nations are relatively peaceful. Small fights are common, but weapons like hovering motherships are never used. Normally, the hovering mothership is used to protect the country and intimidate the greedy galactic pirates like the meteorite bandits. If there's no need to patrol the borders or enter the turbulent meteorite ring to chase after the meteorite bandits, then the hovering mothership will most likely be used to transport some goods during the voyage, slightly reducing the severe economic pressure on the god nation. You don't know how this kind of huge thing burns money. It's practically a bottomless pit. Because Old Spear valued the newcomer Yu Yang very much, he said everything he knew without holding back. Bumpkin. Grasshopper secretly rolled his eyes. He really was a bumpkin who didn't even know about hovering motherships. There are so many people on the ship. What if space pirates or spies sneak in? Yu Yang suddenly frowned. A strange feeling rose in his heart. Ha 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 ha, impossible. Seeing that Yu Yang didn't understand, Grasshopper felt inexplicably comfortable and laughed. Even if the space pirates really sneak on the ship, so what? Do they want to rob the ship? That would only be walking into a trap. There were more than 3,000 elite guards on the ship, and tens of thousands of border army soldiers. How many space pirates would it take to seize the ship? Besides, even if the space pirates seized the ship, would they be able to operate it? It was impossible for it to open. This wasn't a small dinghy. One had to go through the most professional training and study to learn how to operate it. Moreover, it wasn't something that could be operated by just a dozen people. Just the standard crew in the control room already exceeded 200 people, not including the maintenance and logistics personnel. My young master, don't worry. Ever since the birth of the suspending mothership, no one has ever been able to take it down, whether it was from the outside or the inside. No one has ever succeeded. The hovering motherships are definitely not something those bumpkin space pirates can mess around with. Those guys who only know how to destroy without building anything, they don't even know what technology is. It's better to be careful. Yu Yang noticed that the shabby man who was drinking in the corner yesterday had also boarded the ship, so he couldn't help but remind him again. Grasshopper didn't say anything else, but he had a look of disdain on his face. It's always good to be careful. Old Spear didn't deny it, but he didn't mind it either. After going through identity verification on the landing craft and waiting for a while, the border army personnel came to guide them. Only then did they officially board the gigantic pelican that was hard to see from head to tail. When Yu Yang stepped onto the hovering mothership, he even looked back. He found that the merchants boarded the ship in slightly different positions. It was probably the same as the planes before he transmigrated, with first class, business class, and economy class. Following Old Mao, they entered the huge ship and boarded a kind of shuttle. It was like riding an elevator or a roller coaster. They glided forward in a dazzling manner until they finally arrived at the upper deck of the hovering mothership. Although it wasn't the gemstone cabin that only royalty or divine generals and above could board, Old Mao still sat in the most luxurious gemstone cabin, the Pearl Cabin. The interior design of the Pearl Cabin was comparable to a presidential suite. It had everything. Yu Yang stepped on the floor that was made of pure white bear skin. He felt that the people of the Southeast Divine Kingdom really knew how to live a luxurious life. It was fine if it was a normal luxury cruise, but even a warship was like this. He really didn't know how to evaluate it. Old Mao was invited to a banquet by a border army general he was familiar with. He reminded Grasshopper to take good care of the newcomer, Yu Yang, and went out. Grasshopper was different from the other servants who were relatively honest. He didn't want to pay attention to Yu Yang from the bottom of his heart. But with his master by his side, he had to bite the bullet and serve him. As soon as Old Mao left, he couldn't sit still anymore. Are you going to the Gladiator Square? There might be a carnival going on there. If you haven't seen it before, I can take you there to see it. Grasshopper looked at Yu Yang with a sense of superiority. He was just short of saying, "You country bumpkin, hurry up and worship me." "Thanks, but I don't want to go." Yu Yang smiled. This Grasshopper wanted to use this carnival as an excuse to tease and ridicule him. How could he not know that this was a small trick of a small character? He couldn't be bothered to care. Instead of wasting time on this kind of small character, it was more practical to use this time to study this suspending mothership. TSK. Grasshopper's face showed a provocative expression that said, "Country bumpkin is timid." Unfortunately, his expression was ignored by Yu Yang and wasted. He sent away this super jealous Grasshopper. Yu Yang returned to his room and locked it from the inside. Then, he tried to raise the creation domain and use the strongest Heaven Eye's divine vision to carefully observe and sense the surrounding environment. The more carefully he observed and sensed, the more Yu Yang felt curious. This suspending mothership, Pelican, was made of a very special material. The huge body of the ship was seamless. Except for a very small amount of impurities, it was almost purely made of a kind of material. It was not gold, iron, or stone. He didn't know how such a huge body was artificially made. What made Yu Yang most curious was that this kind of material contained a slight nomological power. It was not easy to detect on the surface, but in fact, any life that stepped into this suspending mothership would be weakened by 100 times. Because of the existence of this nomological power, the suspending mothership, which was originally indestructible, was even more indestructible. To destroy such a huge ship, unless it was a god. Yu Yang thought of this and frowned slightly. If there were many substances that contained nomological power in the valley and the mountain beyond, wouldn't it be impregnable? The true meaning of passing through the valley and the mountain beyond was destruction. What was the relationship between the two? Where did these indestructible substances come from? Perhaps these substances that contained nomological power were related to the ancient relics that the mysterious consciousness wanted him to obtain. Destruction was the true purpose of the valley. The existence of these substances completely went against the ancient will. This could also be the reason why Taiyan and Bingley fell. Yu Yang thought for a long time. He felt that he had figured out a direction, but it was still relatively vague. He could only wait for time to fill in the gap. While no one disturbed him, Yu Yang tried to cut the body of the ship with the world-exterminating wheel in his self-created domain. He found that the world-exterminating wheel, which could even cut a god's body, could only make a faint crack on the body of the ship. He couldn't help but be shocked. Based on this result, Yu Yang came to a conclusion. Inside the ship, the nomological power emitted, reducing people's strength by 100 times. However, the ship's defense against attacks was weakened by nearly 10,000 times. No wonder old Mao and Grasshopper were so relaxed. It turned out that this pelican was really indestructible. Yu Yang finally managed to cut a small piece of the ship. He brought it back to the grimoire world. When Princess Sisai and Impatience saw it, they were all shocked. This substance was too sturdy. Only divine power could break it. It can be used to build a giant ship. This proves that there are many of these substances in the valley and mountain beyond mountain. Princess Qian Qian swung the Helltiger Divine Sword with great force, but she only managed to cut out a small piece of the hull, leaving a jagged gap. She frowned and shook her head, wondering, how did they use such a hard material that contains the power of laws and cannot be broken by external forces? Even a god can't easily build a 2-kilometer-long supergiant ship. This is not a problem of creativity. It's just that they can't control these strange rocks that contain nomological power. Impatience also felt that there must be a reason. Could it be related to the ancient relics? Yu Yu's guess was the same as Yu Yang's. I can't be sure now, but it's most likely related to the ancient relics. It might even be related to the fall of Taiyan and Bingley. Fallen Beauty thought for a while and made a judgment. Before the fall of the two true gods, Taiyan and Bingley, something must have happened. That's why the 8 great god kingdoms are here. The true meaning of destroying this underground valley might have been deviated due to this substance. That's why that mysterious senior's consciousness allowed you to retrieve the ancient relics and change the direction of the underground valley and the mountains beyond the mountains. Compared to the demonic god in the human valley, it seems like the situation in the underground valley and the mountains beyond the mountains is much more dangerous. Otherwise, that senior wouldn't have sent you here in such a hurry. 1 evil deities is enough of a headache. Does he want me to fight 8 of them? Yu Yang was a little speechless. That's different. In the human valley, you can't use your strength. Southern Demon King laughed. In the Earth Valley, there's no prohibition on fighting. It's just 100 times weaker. 100 times weaker isn't enough? Yu Yang was sweating profusely. Not to mention a fight between experts, he would be tortured even if his strength was weakened by 10%. Now that his strength was weakened by 100 times and he had to fight 8 of them alone, it would be weird if he didn't get beaten up. The worst part was that his opponent was not a human, but a god. Although Queen Vivian Li said that a false god was not as strong as a true god, he was still a god. Xiao San, you have to be careful. If you really can't do it, we will help you. The one who doted on Yu Yang the most was his sister, Yu Yu. Brother, do your best. The one he trusted the most was always Yu Bing, the girl who worshipped her brother. In her heart, her brother was undefeatable. He was as invincible as a god of war. Yu Yang stroked the silky hair on her forehead and nodded, giving her an affirmative answer. Not only for himself, but also for everyone else. For Bing Heir, Fourth Mother and the little girl who were waiting for his return in Tong Tian Tower, for His Majesty, Night Empress and Ji Zun, who were trying to break through the heaven stairway, this battle had to be fought even if it was difficult. This hurdle had to be overcome even if it was difficult. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.